When it comes to the most dangerous cities for rappers in America, the spotlight often falls on more well-known places like Chicago, a city that not only pioneered the drill music genre, but has also recorded the highest number of total homicides in the country for over a decade now. Chicago is far away from the top when it comes to cities with the highest per capita homicide rates, and in reality, there's a place so deadly that it makes Southside Chicago look like Disneyland. There's one city that's consistently ranked #1 for the past 10 years or more, and that city is St. Louis. So dangerous in fact that a few years ago it was the deadliest city in the entire world outside of the cartel-controlled war zones of Latin America. This has sparked ongoing debate online about just how dangerous life in this city really is. And a big reason for the problem is the readily available firearms that circulate as a result of Missouri's notoriously lax gun laws. Here in the state of Missouri, they have permitless carry laws, meaning that if you're 19 years or older, you don't need a permit to openly carry a gun. This means that in St. Louis, every block and hood has an army of gangsters openly brandishing military-grade firearms and ready to use them at a moment's notice. With an incredibly fragmented gang landscape made up of Blood, Crip, and GD gangs that have come from all over America, and the complicated gang ties, meaning dozens of tiny neighborhood cliques are always at war in a constant battle royale of overlapping and constantly shifting gang ties. Now, while St. Louis has been a fairly underrated city for hip-hop, they have produced some stars over the years. Mainstream rappers like Chingy, Nelly, and most recently Sexy Red have put STL on the map musically, but even for the most polished artists to break into the industry, behind them are secret gang ties that many people couldn't have imagined. Chingy's uncle reportedly was responsible for bringing the 6'2" Brim Bloods to St. Louis in the 80s, giving him family ties to the deadly street gang. Sexy Red doesn't just wear red for fashion either. She hails from a hood in St. Louis associated with the 45 Retta Bloods. And even STL's most famous mainstream rapper Nelly, known for his romantic anthem Dilemma and smash hit Ride With Me, actually has long-running secret affiliations to the Rollin' 30s and 60 Crips in St. Louis. However, if Nelly was a rapper coming out of the gang-controlled hoods of St. Louis in this day and age, he might well have been murdered before he had a chance to make a hit song. Starting in Chicago, over the last few years, the drill music culture has taken hold of St. Louis too. Nowadays, every gang has a couple of rappers frontlining the beef publicly, making music all about life on their block, the enemies they've killed or plan to kill, and the high-speed chases with the cops trying to stop them catching another body. The streets have become a battle royale where the rappers roll around their neighborhoods, broadcasting their activities and inviting their ops to come and shoot it out with them, with numerous instances of rappers actually arranging shootouts and broadcasting the entire thing live on Instagram for the whole world to see. For some reason, despite the popularity of drill music, St. Louis has so far stayed in the shadows compared to the larger, more popular drill cities of the times like Chicago, New York, and Philadelphia. But today, that changes forever, because me and my team have spent the last month doing more research than anyone has ever done on the streets of St. Louis, and in this video I'll be revealing to the world for the first time the true hidden stories of the streets of St. Louis. We've spent hundreds of hours poring over some of the darkest corners of the internet to bring you the craziest street stories to ever come out of this city, and this video will cover every single hidden horror to come out of the St. Louis drill scene, from diss songs that caused instant murders in retaliation, drill rappers turning hood vlogs into open invitations for their ops to come and slide on them, and loose cannon members shooting at random people with switches on their guns on IG Live.
Whoever in that great challenger, I see it again on my daddy, I'm hitting the button. You better move around as fast as possible, Brody.
But before we get into all of the modern day gang wars going on in the St. Louis drill scene, first, let's take a closer look at how St. Louis became one of the most violent cities in American history. Content warning. This video is about a sensitive topic involving loss of life. We've removed any graphic content to comply with YouTube's guidelines. We aim to provide informative, factual journalism on a tragic event in the public interest that does not dismiss its seriousness. All clips are used under the doctrine of fair use for news reporting and analysis. If you want to watch my videos uncut and extended, go to patreon.com/traplawross, where you can get those for just $2. Also, you can now watch my new drops on Spotify, so go search me there. Here's the video. While the antics of Sexy Red let the world know that St. Louis was home to serious national street gangs like the Bloods, the streets of St. Louis have really been deadly for decades. The city had claimed the crown of America's murder capital all the way back in the 1980s, but particularly since about 2010, St. Louis has consistently ranked amongst the most dangerous cities in America when looking at the per capita violent crime rates, particularly homicides. And during the late 2010s, St. Louis would go on a streak, having the highest per capita homicide rate every single year, culminating in 2020 when the city's homicide rate was an insane 88.1 per 100,000 people, basically doubling the murder rate of Memphis, which is also known as one of the most dangerous cities in America too. And St. Louis would continue topping the leaderboards of the nation's most dangerous cities, the homicide rate even ranking St. Louis as the deadliest city in the world outside of Latin America. The record-breaking killing had continued all the way to last year, 2024, when St. Louis would once again have the highest per capita homicide rate, over double that of Chicago, which had the most total homicides. But to truly understand how St. Louis became one of the most dangerous places in America, overrun by gangs and violence, we have to go all the way back to the beginning, because at one point in history, St. Louis was considered one of the greatest cities in the country, known in the 19th century as the Gateway to the West, where numerous explorers and pioneers since Lewis and Clark would begin their journey to settle the American West. This history of St. Louis is still commemorated with the city's most famous landmark, the Gateway Arch that dominates its skyline. Being the gateway, together with the city's strategic position at the confluence of the Mississippi and Missouri rivers, made St. Louis a key hub for trade, transport and migration, which brought both the people and the money to the city. This ended up making St. Louis the fourth largest city in the country by the year 1900. However, the significant population boom also brought some questionable characters to the city, which planted the scenes for the organized crime takeover during the 1920s, when Prohibition-era gangsters took over the illegal booze business and brought about one of the city's first ever gang wars. These would include Italian gangs who were predecessors to the St. Louis Mafia, such as the Green Ones and the Russo gang, led by a notorious gangster called Willie Russo, as well as some interestingly named Irish or mixed gangs like the Cuckoo Gang, Egan Rats, named after their leader Thomas Egan, and their main ops, the Hogan Gang or Hogan's Jelly Rolls, named after their boss Edward Jelly Roll Hogan. Both Egan and Hogan being not just gangsters but also politicians, which says a lot about how things worked in the Prohibition era in St. Louis. One of the most known shooters of this era was the Green One's enforcer, Alphonse Palazzolo, whose boss was Vito Gianola, the city's most powerful mobster. In the late 1920s, tensions in St. Louis's underworld boiled over, igniting a brutal wave of violence as the Green Ones clashed with the Cuckoo Gang, a bloody feud that raged until a truce was reached in late 1926. But the peace was short-lived, and by August 1927, two prominent Italian mobsters, Tony Russo and Vincent Spicuzza, were gunned down in Chicago, the police suspecting that the killings may well have been the work of the Cuckoo Gang, reigniting fears of renewed conflict. But in reality, the two had been double-crossed by Palazzolo, who himself would be assassinated by 4 shooters already in the following month. But this get back wasn't enough, and in December the ops would spin back again, catching Palazzolo's boss, Vito Gianola, lacking at the house of a possible love interest, with the local newspapers creating full-page breakdowns of the slaying, where the assailants had broken into the woman's house and sprayed almost 100 bullets with a submachine gun, hitting Gianola 37 times. As the Prohibition era came to an end in the 1930s, these gangs moved to other hustles like illegal gambling, union racketeering, and pushing drugs like heroin. And the various Italian gang factions eventually came together to form the St. Louis Mafia, which acted as the biggest criminal organization in the city until the 1980s, when a violent internal conflict within the mob, triggered by power struggles, shifting alliances, and the federal government's growing pressure on traditional organized crime, ended their reign.
Giordano's death in 1980 marked the end of an era in St. Louis's underworld history.
August 29, 1980, St. Louis mob boss Anthony Giordano dies of cancer. He had long held the rival Leisure and Michaels crime families together, but that was all about to change.
I saw the car blow up and the hood flew open and just pieces and body went flying everywhere.
19 days after Giordano's death, gang warfare erupts on I-55 when his ally, James Michaels, is killed in a car bombing while behind the wheel.
The information we've been able to determine at this time is that Mr. Michaels was removed from the quote organization.
Law enforcement makes repeated pleas for peace.
You know, it's a misnomer to say they're fighting amongst themselves. When they're killing each other on the streets of your community, that not only reflects on them, it reflects on the whole community.
But as one faction disappeared, many smaller ones would appear, and the crack era brought an explosion of African-American street gangs who took over the St. Louis underworld. But of course, the formation of these African-American gangs in St. Louis began way before that. In the past, St. Louis was known as the most southern city in the north, which was actually a reference to the city's exceptionally racist laws and culture, despite its placement in a relatively progressive northern part of the United States. This was experienced by the city's early black residents firsthand during the infamous 1917 race riots caused by the combination of existing racial tensions and competition over labor in an industrialized urban center. During these riots, white mobs would kill and injure dozens of black people, while their neighborhoods were burned to the ground, causing damages that would be in the millions of dollars in today's currency. But there was perhaps even longer-lasting acts done by lawmakers at the time, such as the city's 1916 residential segregation ordinance, which stated that once a neighborhood had reached a 75% racial majority, it could effectively block members of other races from relocating there. The results of this segregation are still visible in St. Louis today, with it being one of the most segregated cities in the country, with the white population predominantly living in the southern parts of St. Louis, while black residents settle down in the northern neighborhoods, and the clear line between these two communities is the Del Mar Boulevard. But unfortunately for St. Louis's black population, simply segregating them into their own communities wasn't enough. And next, during the 1950s, the city would come after their existing neighborhoods, forcing about 20,000 black residents and 800 businesses of a neighborhood known as Mill Creek Valley to relocate in the name of urban renewal, as the entire neighborhood was demolished to make way for infrastructure like Interstate 64 and the expansion of St. Louis University. But of course, the city had a plan for the displaced black working class residents, as they had just built a new, enormous, state-of-the-art public housing project in North St. Louis, known as the Wendell O. Pruitt Homes and William Igoe Apartments, or together simply as Pruitt-Igoe. Designed by architect Minoru Yamasaki, these projects consisted of 33 11-story buildings which were hailed for replacing the so-called slums on the north side and bringing bright new additions to the city's skyline. But just like everywhere else in America, this colossal experimental project would quickly turn sour, as the buildings were since the beginning stripped of funding and maintenance, while the poor North St. Louis residents became even more isolated from the rest of society as they had been before. And in just a few decades, Pruitt-Igoe would descend into complete chaos, as the crumbling projects were taken over by gangs, crime, and decay in record speed. These projects became perhaps the biggest blunder in the history of public housing in America, as several YouTube channels have actually covered this development in depth.
Unfortunately, a lack of funding from investors where the city forced Yamasaki to revise the design for cost cutting. Basically, he was forced to double the density of the buildings and canceled plans for playgrounds, parks, laundromats, grocers, and even public toilets.
The first warning sign was financial. The maintenance of Pruitt-Igoe was supposed to be funded by the tenants' rent, but many of the residents were low income, and when vacancy rates began to rise, there wasn't enough money to keep up with repairs. The skip-stop elevators, designed to reduce congestion, instead became crime hotspots. Stairwells were often dark and isolated, making them dangerous for residents. The communal galleries, intended as social spaces, were soon taken over by gangs, and vandalism became rampant as the buildings started to feel more like traps than homes. Some of the buildings were so poorly maintained that in the winter of 1970, a burst sewer pipe flooded the hallways with raw sewage, which froze to people's beds and clothes, slowly thawing out and leaving their belongings destroyed. Teenagers formed gangs for protection, and violence became a way of life. For many residents, walking into their apartment felt like running a gauntlet of danger. The utopian dream that was Pruitt-Igoe had turned into a nightmare of crumbling infrastructure, rampant crime, and hopelessness.
The Pruitt-Igoe experiment would come to an end during the 1970s when these projects were finally closed and demolished, but for street gangs of St. Louis, this was just the beginning.
In 1972, demolition began on the 33-building Pruitt-Igoe housing project, built in the 1950s as the vision of the future of urban America. It turned out to be a symbol of all that had gone wrong with America's older cities, and this image would be played over and over again on national television and cited by the commentators and academics.
The 60s and particularly the 70s were some of the most violent times in St. Louis, but the streets were mostly controlled by the mafia and some smaller scale dope pushers such as the infamous drug kingpin Terry Joe Cooley, who would eventually meet his end in 1970 after he was killed in his home in a brutal quadruple murder that would also claim the lives of his associate, his girlfriend, and her 10-year-old son, with the newspapers at the time questioning if he had been killed due to his growing ambitions to take over the city's drug game. Also during this period, St. Louis would also begin to experience significant economic decline, combined with white flight, as the largely white middle class moved to the suburbs, leaving the predominantly black working classes with crumbling infrastructure and underfunded schools. These issues would hit East St. Louis on the Illinois side of the border first.
East St. Louis was experiencing in 1970 the kind of pain that a lot of other places were experiencing in the 1930s during the Great Depression. There were tremendous amounts of job loss in East St. Louis. It was an old smokestack, heavily industrial city. And As those technology and ways of doing business changed, businesses were pulling out of East St. Louis, businesses that had been there for 100 years or more.
Then, in the mid-1980s, local newspapers would begin reporting about a rising youth gang problem in East St. Louis. Some of these gangs, unsurprisingly, being Chicago-originated gangs like the Gangster Disciples, Black Disciples, and Vice Lords, although there would apparently also be some locally originated sets like the 38 Specials, the Scorpions, and the Rat Patrol. The news would also mention how the Disciples worked differently from other gangs, as they had had more structure and leaders coming all the way from Chicago to administer discipline and train the local members. But in 1988, things would begin to escalate quickly, as a little-known movie called Colors would hit movie theaters all over America, showing the life of LA gang members and bringing with it the vivid imagery, style, and mythology of the Bloods and Crips gangs, which would soon take roots in cities far beyond California. At the beginning of the 90s, St. Louis newspapers would begin reporting how so-called wannabe gangbangers emulating the Los Angeles gangs had begun harassing students in some schools for wearing certain colors. But the police would downplay the growing gang problem in the community. Perhaps this was simply not to spread panic, but the reality of the streets couldn't be downplayed. One particularly deadly rivalry would be between two North St. Louis gangs known as the Boys of Destruction, or BOD, and their rivals being known as the Horseshoe Posse. This rivalry would much later in 2009 be covered in the 4th season of the popular TV series Gangland in an episode titled Boys of Destruction. The BOD gang was allegedly founded by a member named Dorsey Brandon, and the members of the gang identified as Crips, their turf being on the south side of the Martin Luther King Drive, while the Horseshoe Posse, led by a young man named Hitman T, identified as Bloods and stayed on the north side of King Drive. This rivalry would escalate in 1991 when first in March, Hitman T, real name Tyrone McClinton, was shot to death in front of a gas station when he was only 17 years old. This was decades before gang members had Instagram Live to broadcast their disses and tell the city that they were smoking the latest dead op. But the streets never change, and gang members in early St. Louis would find analog methods to diss their murdered rivals. Following Hitman's death, BOD would allegedly taunt the Horseshoe Posse by spraying Dead Man T into a wall near the scene of the incident. During Hitman's funeral a week later, BOD members would allegedly shout insults to the members of the Horseshoe Posse, almost starting a mass brawl that was barely stopped by the police on the scene. But then, some months later in October, the BOD leader, Dorsey, would be shot and killed during a violent night when 4 people were killed in less than 24 hours, marking just how deadly these gangs had become. The following year, in 1992, the news would report how the gang problem had gotten out of control. Now the police were also seemingly coming clean and admitting that many of the gang members that they were arresting had in fact real connections to the Blood and Crip gangs in Los Angeles, and that their infiltration to St. Louis had started already in the late 80s, incentivized by higher profits from interstate drug sale. The police would also reveal that the gang culture went far beyond the black community. There were also gangs with white members and even some fully white gangs, like one known by the menacing name Hitman Posse. The article would also highlight how violent the gangs had become, which was reflected in the number of homicides that would peak in the following year, 1993, with the article highlighting one gang rivalry that had led to 8 youths' deaths in less than a year. This rivalry reportedly being between the 6 Deuce East Coast Crips and the 44 Blue Bud Crips from North St. Louis near Fairground Park. By 1996, the St. Louis gang problem had spread outwards from the inner city to the suburbs in the county, with the news mentioning that the Rollin 60s Crips had become one of the most dominant factions both in the city and in the county. Ultimately, emerging from the Rollin 60 Crips was St. Louis's most popular rapper, Nelly, who while didn't rep his gang in his songs, would make coded references to his gang's colors and be spotted wearing all blue on regular occasions. By the 2000s, various Chicago and LA originating gangs had become a normalized part of daily life in the streets of St. Louis. A new generation had now taken the reins, while some from the older generation were trying to right their wrongs, mentoring younger members and helping them escape the cycle of violence. But this normalization came at a cost. Unlike in the 1990s, when media attention was intense, the issue began to fade from public focus, as coverage was mainly reduced to surface-level reports about scattered anti-gang initiatives, while the city would build a new state-of-the-art facility to hold the growing number of inmates known as the St. Louis City Justice Center, or simply Justo. But the spread of gangs continued across the city, unfolding largely in the shadows, until of course the city's homicide rates began to get completely out of control, forcing reporters to look for reasons. While the officials would seemingly settle for half-baked solutions, or some pointing fingers at each other, with certain people claiming that judges were actually at fault for proving who did a homicide too high in St. Louis. But as the homicide rate kept rising to its highest levels, the rules of the game would completely change. With the rise of drill music from Chicago, gang gangs from Los Angeles and social media apps from Silicon Valley, gang members began to use music and Instagram accounts to broadcast their illegal street activities. And on social media, St. Louis ultimately became one of the most feared destinations. Nowadays, countless hood vlogs are up on YouTube, with vloggers risking their lives to go and visit the most dangerous city in modern America, racking up millions of views in the process.
Nearly every year for over a decade, St. Louis, Missouri has had the highest murder rate out of all major cities in the entire US, leading to its reputation as the murder capital of America. In 2021 alone, it nearly tripled Chicago's murder rate, with over 87 murders per 100,000 people. With such a menacing reputation and little coverage of the hoods there past dark, I wanted to experience this city for myself. So in today's video, I travel out to the trenches of St. Louis, visit a rapper who just beat a murder charge, narrowly dodge the police, and spend a night in the murder capital of America.
What had once been a hidden criminal underworld had now become a social media reality TV show, with gang warfare all out in the open. So, to better understand the gang landscape in St. Louis today, let's take a closer look at the modern generation of gangs and rappers in the drill music era who are broadcasting their gang wars for the whole world to hear. St. Louis locals usually split the city into several sections, with two of the main sections being North St. Louis and South St. Louis, also known as North City and South City. As already mentioned, St. Louis is one of the most segregated cities in America, and the great majority of people in North St. Louis are black and working class, whereas the South is predominantly white and middle class. Although there are also numerous black and mixed neighborhoods in the South, while the invisible line between these two communities is generally considered to be the Del Mar Boulevard. The city's racial population overall is interestingly an almost even split 50-50 between black and white, with there being very few other races like Asians and Latinos in the area. Because of the socio-economic differences between the North and the South, it's no surprise then that the great majority of gangs in St. Louis are located in the North. But due to the mixed neighborhoods both racially and economically, particularly in South St. Louis, this community has several sets that have both black and white members, which of course brings up the topic of the most famous white drill rapper coming out of St. Louis, CTS Luh Wick, whose set 70 CTS is located all the way at the bottom of the South Side. Luh Wick would actually end up getting major headlines after catching a murder charge in 2022 and beating it, but more about that later. Due to the far greater gang activity in the North, the great majority of homicides actually do take place there, which is exemplified by the fact that the main street cutting through the North, Natural Bridge Avenue, was named as the most violent street in America in 2015, and the area around it continues to be a hotbed for shootings and homicides.
New tonight, 10 days into the new year, and city homicide detectives now have 7 cases. The latest occurred late this afternoon at Goodfellow and Natural Bridge. We're told the victim was shot in the head.
I've never in my life heard anything like, that's what it sounded like. You know, it's like continuous for like maybe 30 seconds.
Police say they responded to a shooting in the 6,000 block of Natural Bridge. Officers initially went there and saw bullet holes in the two-of-a-kind bar and grill, a building next door, and a vehicle. Shell casings could also be seen in the street. Police later arrived at a hospital and learned a 29-year-old man, a 36-year-old man, and a 32-year-old woman had been shot.
The street even had a gas station that had so many shootings that it ended up getting the nickname Murder Mobile. Natural Bridge acts as a border for numerous gang-affiliated hoods, many of whom are at war with each other in the area, with one of these hoods being 45 Retta, a blood-affiliated hood which just so happens to be where the rapper Sexy Red hails from. The name 45 Retta goes all the way back to at least the early 2010s, while the affiliation with the Bloods likely goes back way before that to the late 80s and early 90s. As the name 45 Retta demonstrates, most of the hoods in the city rep a certain block, in this case the 4500 block of Margaretta Avenue. Sometimes two of these hoods come together to create an alliance, which is often repped by combining the two first numbers of the block. For example, there's a hood in North St. Louis known as 48 Shreve, who are in an alliance called 1448, with another hood all the way down in South St. Louis near downtown called 14 Peabody, or simply the Jects. The latter name coming from the fact that this area has been home to several large public housing projects, in this case particularly the Clinton Peabody projects, which is the oldest public housing development in the city and about to go through a complete redevelopment. Moreover, while members from almost every hood rep an affiliation with traditional gangs like Crips and Bloods, it's also common for hoods in St. Louis to have some members who rep different gangs, and unlike Los Angeles, it's not uncommon to have both Bloods and Crips within the same hood, although in this case, the hood might rock another color entirely, like the hood known as 51 Scan, or simply Scan, on the west side of St. Louis, who have members from both Bloods and Crips, but rock the colors green and black, which to them represent money and murder. In an interview with Say Cheese, the rapper LA4SS from Scran would explain the difference between between the Bloods and Crips of St. Louis compared to Los Angeles.
Okay. And the west side is Crips?
Bloods and Crips. And,
so they're mixed in one neighborhood.
Kitchen Crips, 6 Deuce Crips, 8 Trey Crips. It's 9 Trey Bloods, 9 Deuce Bloods. You know
and all these are mixed in one neighborhood?
Yeah, all these is everywhere. Like ain't no like this ain't gang with this ain't organized gang. This ain't organized crime. This ain't nobody, ain't no OG, ain't no big bro, ain't no like it's a Crip, Blood, GD from the east side, and the Vice Lord all in one car right now. It ain't about no color over here.
Okay.
It's about what you standing on, your hood, for real.
So that's what makes it different from California. It's not segregated. It's not Blood neighborhoods and Crips neighborhoods.
Yeah,
it's really
like with all due respect and humbly say, like, we ain't no Cali Bloods or no Cali Crips.
To make things even more confusing, particularly the newer generations within these block-based hoods often create cliques with completely new names. For example, 30 Deep Grimeyy grew up on 2 blocks on the north side, one known as 442 Ville, or simply the Ville, and the other as 45 Ferris. Both blocks have historical ties to the 6 Deuce East Coast neighborhood Crips, which is what Grimeyy also reps, but as he got older, he would also become part of a clique known as 30 Deep. And lastly, due to the history of how the Chicago gangs like the GDs or Vice Lords first arrived in St. Louis, these affiliations remain the strongest within the Illinois side of East St. Louis, while St. Louis the city is overwhelmingly Bloods and Crips. In fact, despite East St. Louis being just across the river, due to it residing in a completely different state, Illinois, many in St. Louis do not even consider East St. Louis to be part of the city in any way, as voiced by 30 Deep Grimeyy on social media.
Say it like this, all you East Side Shine Cotton comments and shit, bro. It's one, I ain't even say one, it's a couple of you East Side steady cap. I ain't never heard no from y'all talking about, oh, we don't know him. Cause y'all's from Illinois, not St. Louis, Missouri. Stop saying the east side of St. Louis.
So now that we know a little bit more about the current gangs of St. Louis, let's take a closer look at the city's overall drill music scene, which has made some of the most feared gangsters from these hoods into national celebrities. St. Louis for long has been a city with deep history in music, playing a key role in the early development of blues and jazz, and its thriving music scene has been home to world-renowned artists like Miles Davis, Chuck Berry, and Tina Turner. But today, we're more interested in the music giving a voice to the gangsters, waging war for survival and hustling to get by in the streets. St. Louis has a thriving drill music scene that began to develop soon after the original Chicago drill scene went global in the early 2010s, but it wasn't until the late 2010s that St. Louis drill truly found its own voice and came into its own, getting the local name high speed music due to sometimes having fast beats and flows, but also because the lyrics often mirrored the city's street culture, where members of local gangs had no fear of getting into frequent high speed chases with police.
In St. Louis, y'all don't call it drill music, y'all call it high speed music?
Drill music, high speed, yeah, it's more of a high speed music, for real. More of a high speed, fast tempo, yeah.
Okay, and that's what you feel like you started?
Yeah, I started high speed, man. I was the first person talking about a high speed in the St. Louis, period.
Yeah, because high speeds are real big in St. Louis.
Yeah, people get high speeds every day. Like, it ain't nothing. Normal. It's normal here.
And of course, given the city's reputation as the country's murder capital, it's no surprise then that the music coming out of St. Louis is incredibly violent and disrespectful. Within a few years after the original Chicago drill became popular, several rappers from St. Louis began taking influence from the genre, such as a rap group known as 3 Problems, made up of 3 members known as Lil Tay, Swag Huncho, and Relly Rel, together with other rappers like LA Fours, just to name a few. The history of the St. Louis scene also can't be discussed without mentioning the AMR, or Ammunition Money Respect Clique, who were some of the earliest pioneers and included rappers like AMR Freak and AMR D Huncho, with Freak even shooting music videos as early as 2015 with the Chicago cameraman Aze Production, and getting features from the biggest Chicago rappers like Lil Durk. AMR D Huncho's most popular song Snapped from 2021 has almost 2 million views on YouTube, but that same year he would be shot an insane 16 times, fortunately surviving the attempt on his life due to the bullets hitting him mostly in his arms and legs. Then you've got Jizzle Bucks, formerly known as Jizzle Bands, is another early pioneer of the St. Louis drill scene. He would later drop drop a popular remix to King Von's Crazy Story in 2019, and would even end up getting a feature from King Von the very same year. Later rappers like 2Buckz, also known as BigBuckz Von, would help to pioneer high-speed music, even dropping a popular song titled The High Speed Anthem in 2018. While there were also numerous other artists who have been dropping music since the late 2010s and are still doing significant numbers, such as the Monster Gang clique with guys like Monster Gang Jose and Raystar, and of course there's also 30 Deep Grimeyy, who would gain the most national attention in the scene during the late 2010s, becoming known not just for his raps, but also his wild gold grill grin, which made him resemble a villain like Jared Leto's Joker from the Suicide Squad movie. But like other cities with respectable drill scenes, there's a whole subreddit all about it called r/St. Louis Drill, which is dedicated to covering the city's intertwined music and gang culture today in 2025, having over 17,000 members, with members of the sub regularly posting about the latest murders, arrests, diss songs, and making lists of the most buzzing artists to emerge from the drill scene. According to the subreddit, the currently top-ranked STL drill rapper is Mo P, who reps 1448. Still a very young and up-and-comer, he's been getting a lot of attention in the scene, even getting shout-outs from the city's biggest rapper in recent years, Sexy Red, who would be seen on her social media listening to his music. Arguably the other biggest name buzzing in the streets of the new generation of STL drill rappers is C4 Murder from Murderside, whose biggest music video for the song Some Light has over 1 million views. Over the course of this video, we're going to go from hood to hood, block to block, breaking down the most important drill rappers and feuds from each neighborhood, and the best place to start is the one who stands above the rest, 30 Deep Grimeyy, arguably the most influential artist to ever come out of the St. Louis drill scene, a heavy crown that unfortunately came with a lot of unwanted extra attention from law enforcement and his neighbors. 30 Deep Grimeyy was born Arthur Presley Jr. on August 21st, 1997 in St. Louis. He was raised in a tough environment where gang affiliation wasn't so much a choice, it was a way of life passed down through generations, family ties, and the deep history of the sets in his neighborhood. Grimey's family had gang ties that stretched back generations long before Grimeyy was even born, something that he would break down to Vlad TV.
So, at what point did you start really getting mixed up in the streets?
I feel like birth. I don't remember my age. I had to be a kid. Like, it was all around me. It was in my household. It was everywhere.
His mum, dad, grandma, and grandfather were all allegedly members of the Six Deuce Crips, with his grandparents actually helping to establish the gang in St. Louis. But unlike their Los Angeles counterparts who wore traditional blue, the Six Deuces in STL have carved out their own identity by rocking blue and orange. While Grimey's parents would eventually leave the gang life behind, the streets had already claimed the next generation, and through his family connections, Grimeyy would become affiliated with 2 Six Deuce hoods, both located in the north side of the city, including the 442 Ville, aka the Ville, who claim an area in the historical black neighborhood of North St. Louis known by the same name, as well as a hood known as 45 Ferris, located in the northwest on the border of St. Louis County. Growing up in these hoods, it didn't take long for the violent side of that lifestyle to find him. Grimeyy would witness his first murder at just 7 years old. As he would later explain to Vlad, this moment flipped a switch that would never turn off.
Do you remember how old you were when something violent happened in your vicinity?
Maybe around 7, 8, 9. It was a bad thing, like the baddest thing. like I witnessed a bad thing. I don't really want to say, but you know what I'm getting.
It was also around this time that he became part of a clique known as 30 Deep, made up of his friends from several hoods, but particularly 45 Ferris. The name of the clique, according to Grimeyy, comes from the crew's habit of rolling around in large numbers wherever they went.
The 30 Deep name came from you just roll around 30 Deep?
Yeah, going to the skating ring when we was kids, we used to go to the skating ring about 30, 40, 50 deep.
30 Deep also included Grimey's friend NWMC Murder, NWM standing for N-words with money or N-words with murders, depending on who's asking. The two would later become inseparable, collaborating on music and appearing in interviews together as they both built their careers in music.
I'm in here with 30 Deep Grimeyy and NWMC Murder.
Yeah.
You guys are both examples of how rap names are getting kind of complicated these days.
In a city where every block seems to be beefing with each other, 30 Deep would end up having more than their fair share of ops, as they eventually became embroiled in numerous ongoing conflicts with other hoods and cliques across the city, such as 57 Floy, aka Floy Mob, and the 6000 LAC side, aka the Lucille Ave Crips, who were both part of a larger alliance in St. Louis's 6th Police District, also known as the Six. 62 Stillwell is another set located just across the street from 45 Ferris, Louis, on the other side of Natural Bridge Avenue. They're also beefing with the 8, aka the Cochrane Mob, named after the 8th Street and the former Cochrane Gardens projects that were located near downtown. And they've also got beef with 14 Peabody, aka 14 Jects, also known as Brick City, located in the Clinton Peabody projects on the south side near downtown St. Louis. And they've got issues with the O, aka the Ops, located on the north side of downtown, who got their name from the former O Fallen Place apartments that have now been replaced with new buildings, as well as several other hoods, as well as 5053, aka G Street, located in the Mark Twain neighborhood in North St. Louis, and 39 Strip, aka the Strip, on the south side. Now, as you'll learn in this story, the conflicts in St. Louis are incredibly complicated, with fractured hoods and many small gangs all at war with each other with overlapping alliances. As one Redditor would point out, despite their relatively small size, the Six Deuce Crips had become one of the most hated gangs in St. Louis at this point, even getting the nickname the Dookies as a reference to the number 2. Grimeyy would become a recognizable sight in the streets of St. Louis from early on, as he would begin to rock gold grills on his teeth at a very young age. But unfortunately, another thing that he would become familiar with since a young age was death. For example, as he would later rap on the song Emotions, in 2013 when he was just 16, his friend JD was killed while walking to school, while the following year brought more devastating news when his homeboy Keon, who had motivated Grimeyy to start rapping as a kid, was also murdered. And unlike many of the kids around him, Keon wasn't even really involved in the gang life, according to a Genius interview.
My homeboy Keon, he got killed. He wasn't really in the gangs or none of this. He motivated me to keep rapping, like start rapping when I was first rapping. I used to freestyle shit as a kid, and Ning was a big influence on murder, so that's like, we do it for them.
These losses would undoubtedly push Grimeyy and his 30 Deep friends deeper into the streets, but there would also be another event that would send the entire city into chaos. In August 2014, an 18-year-old named Michael Brown from the nearby city of Ferguson was gunned down by a police officer, Darren Wilson, under suspicious circumstances. This would trigger massive protests in the city of Ferguson and beyond, transforming the movement that had begun during the previous years after the 2012 killing of Trayvon Martin and 2013 acquittal of George Zimmerman, sparking the global Black Lives Matter movement. But over in nearby St. Louis, the Ferguson protests drew so many local officers away to assist that it left the city's own streets virtually lawless, turning them into a Wild West where anything could happen, creating the perfect circumstances to target your ops and get away with murder, as Grimeyy would later explain to Say Cheese.
Police cars, you can do anything in the city because everybody was in Ferguson County at the time, fucking it up. So you can go downtown and kill your enemy. Go kill your enemy on the west side. Police ain't coming because all the police is in Ferguson. You can straight rob everything in the city right now or kill anybody you want to kill because everybody was in Ferguson at the time.
Growing up in the streets, getting locked up would also be a regular occurrence, as Grimeyy would end up spending some time in St. Louis's former medium security institution, aka the Workhouse, when he was just 17. However, there were also more positive developments in his life, as Grimeyy and his friends would begin to take music more seriously, beginning to release songs and music videos under the 30 Deep moniker, with Grimeyy, who was known on his block as Lil Arthur or LA, would begin dropping music under the name Grimeyy Deuce around the mid-2010s. But unfortunately, he would keep getting in trouble with the law around this time, next getting a UUW, or unlawful use of a weapon, charge for allegedly shooting out of a vehicle. But while Grimeyy would go back to prison, his friends would keep the crew's name alive in music. One of these friends being a 30 Deep member called Streets, who was actually Grimey's stepbrother. But unlike Grimeyy, who was a Crip, Streets was actually a 9 Deuce Blood, once again showing that traditional gang alliances meant very little in St. Louis. But then, in August 2016, when Grimeyy was still locked up, he would experience yet another major tragic loss, as Streets was gunned down at the very gas station on Natural Bridge Avenue that had become known as Murder Mobile, killed by a man named O'Shar Lapsley. Grimeyy would rap about losing Streets on his song Emotions, saying he found out when he was inside and vowing to slide for Streets, who he said was a killer just like him. Losing his stepbrother affected Grimeyy deeply, and he would later get a huge Long Live Streets tattoo on his neck, while also making it a yearly habit of paying tribute to Streets by dressing in red with other 30 Deep members, and later explaining during his No Jumper interview how losing Streets made him calculate his every move going forward.
I don't know, but I lost a lot and I learned a lot. I lost my blood brother on my neck. Actually, for real, he my stepbrother, but I say my blood brother because yeah.
When did that happen?
2016.
Okay, and so that was like
August.
That was.
I got a month after. And I was in there 9-10 months before he died, and it kind of fucked it up. But I learned. And he died while I was in there. I learned from it. It fucked it up. I just calculated my every move from there.
Right. Damn. Yeah, that must have been rough losing him. What, you didn't get to go to the funeral and like that?
No, I was a danger to society or some.
Over the years, Grimey's losses would only keep piling up. For example, in 2018, another close friend of his, Tay-Tay, would also fall victim to gun violence, with Grimeyy later revealing in his song Emotions that Tay-Tay's murder hurt him deeply because they weren't on good terms when it happened. But while being in the middle of an ongoing gang war, in between spells behind bars, Grimeyy would keep releasing music, often with his friend C Murder, and coming into 2019, that music would begin to make waves in the underground, with the song No Cap first piquing the public's interest. This was a track that saw Grimeyy and C Murder proudly repping the Six Deuce Crips by rocking blue and orange clothing, while bringing the St. Louis drill scene to national attention by rapping in detail about the local gang politics. Grimeyy would keep applying pressure and releasing numerous music videos with visuals and lyrics that summed up the dangerous, gun-clutching life of a St. Louis Crip, and he would continue developing his versatility as an artist. His song Rockstar, which came with a music video, opens with a haunting display of obituaries for the many friends he lost to the streets. Grimeyy, rapping about the street life with a more melancholic and melodic tone, was showing the world that he was a three-dimensional artist with emotional depth. But don't get it twisted, just because he had a thoughtful and emotional side, he would still be getting very aggressive and disrespectful. Grimey's rise in 2019 would culminate in the release of the song Dead Goofies, a brutal diss track where he fired back at his ops, many of whom had started throwing subliminal shots at him and 30 Deep following his early success. The song provided a masterclass in viral marketing, starting from the thumbnail of the music video, which simply showed a menacing close-up of Grimeyy pulling off his best evil grin while rocking the iconic gold grills and clutching a rifle, looking like a straight-up Marvel supervillain. While the lyrics of the song were full of local lingo and references, including disses towards numerous rival factions and their dead and alive members. Some of the references would point to events from years ago, like Grimeyy telling his friends to roll up that Noah and telling how Lil Tyrell should be freed so that he can throw him a homecoming party filled with demons and shells of ammunition. These lyrics actually point to a famous case all the way from 2013 when a 16-year-old named Tyrell Davidson would end up killing another 16-year-old named Chauncey Brown. Brown was also known in the streets as Bossman, and he was a loved member of the 30 Deep clique. Tyrell would eventually be charged for the murder of Bossman, but in an effort to get him free, his mother would somehow get her hands on the witness list of the case, which would include other youths from both sides of the rivalry, including James Moore, aka James Deuce, who was a friend of Bossman, and a 30 Deep affiliate who had allegedly been with Bossman the night Tyrell had killed him. There was also Noah Barnes, who was a friend of Tyrell and had allegedly been with him the night of the murder. In order to get rid of both of these key witnesses, the mother would allegedly get the help of her brother, nephew, and a third man who would end up hunting down and killing both James and Noah in brutal execution-style slayings, both killings taking place within 7 months of the murder of Chauncey. In 2015, it would seem that the mother's evil plan had actually worked, and Tyrell's charges were dropped. But already the following year, everything would for a moment come crashing down, as both Tyrell and his mother were charged with multiple murders, and the case would become nationally known outside of St. Louis as the Murder Mom case. But the twists and turns weren't over, and in 2018, these murder charges against the mother were this time dismissed, after a detective who was the state's key witness received a brain cancer diagnosis, and the judge refused to delay the trial. Crazy. However, Tyrell would eventually enter a guilty plea and receive a 12-year sentence in the end for the murder of Chauncey, aka Bossman, in 2020. Of course, to anyone outside of the St. Louis gang culture, lyrics like these likely made very little sense. But if you knew, you knew. And for the insiders, 30 Deep Grimeyy was dissing the whole city and praising the most twisted killers from his hood. The song portrayed Grimeyy as a certified demon in the streets who wasn't afraid to get on the mic and diss everybody in St. Louis, ultimately piquing the people's interest to start looking into the city's scene, just like the original pioneers of drill had done to Chicago. It was this combination of viral gimmicks, offensive disses, and authentic sounding lyrics that made Grimeyy a hood sensation overnight, a strategy he would even later acknowledge during his interview with the St. Louis Chicken Diaries.
So let me ask you guys, what separates y'all from them? Like, how did y'all, like, what makes y'all different?
We very versatile.
Not only that, our style.
And we put our all in this shit.
Our style, our lingo, and then got out to other cities. When we first started rapping, like hard together, like the style caught attention from other cities and the lingo, and like you said, the flashy props or whatever, the clothes, the lifestyle, period.
Grimey's demonic super savage image would also cause some debate online, as fans were desperately trying to decipher just how deep in the streets he really was. He'd become the poster boy for St. Louis drill, and Redditors were describing him as Satan's right-hand man, leading to rampant speculation on exactly which murders could have been caused by Grimeyy personally or his wider crew. For example, Grimey's 30 Deep clique has been linked to the death of a member called K Money from 5053, aka G Street, who was shot and killed in September 2018 on the 53 5300 block of Minerva Avenue, with his hood beginning to use the name KMG or K-Money Gang in his honor. And on Dead Goofy's, 30 Deep Grimeyy would claim that he was smoking on K-Money. Beyond that, Grimeyy specifically has also been linked to the murder of a man called Booby C from LA Seaside, who was shot and killed on the 4th of October 2019 on the 5500 block of Era Avenue, a murder that took place just a few weeks before Dead Goofy's dropped. There have also been persistent rumors that Grimeyy had taken part in avenging the December 2020 murder of his friend Freaky from 30 Deep, who was allegedly killed by members of the 8, aka the Cochrane Mob, with a man named Quincy getting officially charged for the hit. However, whether these rumors have any truth to them remains unclear, but what's noteworthy about them is that they all allegedly happened during or after Grimey's blow up in music, with his possible dirt from before that still remaining largely a mystery. But regardless, Grimey's disrespectful but thoughtful music and an alleged deadly reputation in the streets got him on the radars of the biggest killers in the music industry at that time. And already the following month after the release of Dead Goofy's, Grimeyy would come out with a major announcement. He was joining none other than King Von for his grandson tour, together with his good friend C Murder. Grimeyy would also get features from big time artists like NLE Chopper and Lil Baby, both of these collaborations gaining millions of views on streaming platforms. But success came with a heavy price, because the same authenticity that made his music compelling was creating him real enemies in the streets, and one of these enemies was KB6 from the 57 Floyd Mob, another young rapper who took Grimey's words as a direct challenge to his crew and family, with KB breaking down the beef on an interview with the Views from the Arch.
I wasn't dissing nobody and none of that, like, so shit was like, motherfucker kept on playing with me, kept on saying this. Like, you can't just feel like you can say whatever you want to say to me. I ain't that type of, you know? Like, this way, it go way past the rap shit.
Dead Goofy's and its popularity had painted targets on multiple backs across the city, and KB6 was one of the people who felt compelled to respond with a diss track of his own, dropping his response titled 30 Dead Homies only days after Grimey's song. On the track, KB6 threatened to pull up on Grimeyy and shoot his girl and maybe even his mother, but while Grimeyy was now getting targeted from all sides, he would decide to stay in St. Louis, a very bad decision after becoming the city's most notorious gangster rapper. Later on, Grimey's actual neighbor would make a long Reddit post detailing the events that followed after it was discovered that Grimeyy was actually living on his block. In April 2020, a man living on the 4100 block of Dressel Avenue in the 45 Ferris Hood would arrive to his home to find the block taken over by young men armed with heavy artillery. It was at this point that he realized that he'd been living next to 30 Deep Grimeyy for the past 4 years, but it seemed that since Grimey's success in music, he was now taking no chances, and he started having his friends guard the block all day long, even doing what the man would describe as a third world style checkpoint where they stopped and checked every passing car while brandishing their weapons. Then on the 15th of July 2020, the reality of Grimey's lifestyle brought chaos to the block when an argument between two men quickly escalated into a 40-second gun battle involving 3 shooters erupting right outside the neighbor's home. His surveillance cameras captured the entire ordeal, which he would then post on Reddit for everyone to see. The shootout began with a dispute between 2 men that quickly went left, when the man in black suddenly drew a pistol and fired. What followed was chaos, as both men exchanged gunfire at close range while bystanders ran for cover. A third shooter would emerge from a white Chevy Avalanche with what appeared to be an AK-style weapon, spraying 30 rounds down the street. The violence was so intense that bullets penetrated the neighbor's brick house, with one shot passing just a foot over his pregnant wife's head. 3 men, Jermaine Brownlee, Dwywarante Upchurch, and Cedric Vales, were wounded in the exchange, but no arrests were made at least immediately following the incident. Whether Grimeyy was present during the gun battle remains unclear, but within 2 weeks of this shootout, he and his crew all packed up and left for new turf, leaving the neighborhood quiet for the first time in months. But after the shootout, at this point, law enforcement had certainly begun to take notice of the city's new rising star, and it was only a matter of time before his luck ran out. On January the 5th, 2021, during what seemed like a routine traffic stop, 30 Deep Grimeyy was pulled over in a 2008 Pontiac G8. The car had a tail light out, and the license plate was registered to a Jeep, not the Pontiac that was being driven. When police searched the car, they found a Beretta 92 FS 9mm pistol sitting between Grimeyy and another passenger. Despite Missouri's notoriously lax gun laws, as a convicted felon with 2 prior convictions for unlawful use of a weapon, Grimeyy was prohibited from possessing any firearms. But what made things worse was what Grimeyy did next. Almost immediately after the traffic stop, he would send text messages to the original purchaser of the gun, asking him to falsify a bill of sale to make it look like one of the other passengers in the car had legally bought the weapon. But the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives had been investigating Grimeyy and 30 Deep long before the traffic stop, and they had receipts. Investigators found pictures of Grimeyy posing with the same gun on his social media accounts and in his phone, own, even posing in some of the pictures with the alleged original purchaser of the gun right after the deal had been done while holding the gun himself. They also had text messages where he discussed the purchase of the weapon, with one of the messages even including a picture that showed the gun's serial number. When the trial began in October 2021, Grimeyy would make one last desperate move to save himself by producing another falsified bill of sale on the very first day of proceedings, which got him nowhere. During the proceedings, prosecutors played his music videos in the courtroom, claiming his music and videos were proof of his violent nature, and arguing that Grimeyy wasn't just a rapper, but the leader of a criminal organization, and claiming that he had no respect for the law. Grimey's defense team fought back hard, with his lawyer arguing that 30 Deep was simply a brand like Kanye West's Yeezy, and questioning why his music was even being brought up when he was only being charged with gun possession. Grimeyy himself tried to explain the disconnect between his public persona and his real-life identity, telling the judge that his rap career was just an image that he had to portray and that he felt targeted because of his stage name. But in the end, those arguments fell flat, and US District Judge Stephen R. Clark handed 30 Deep Grimeyy a harsh sentence: 7 years and 8 months in federal prison.
English rapper is headed to prison on gun charges. Arthur Presley, also known as 30 Deep Grimeyy, was already a convicted felon when he was caught with a gun. After getting caught, he tried to falsify a bill of sale to try and prove that the gun was in fact somebody else's. Presley will spend the next 7 years in prison.
At just 25 years old, St. Louis's top street rapper, who had briefly seemed destined for mainstream success, would instead spend the next several years behind bars, watching his career slip away while his contemporaries continued to rise, and the drill music scene that he pioneered in his city was taken over by other artists. But even from behind federal prison walls, Grimey's impact in St. Louis drill is undeniable, and many still view him as the artist who single-handedly put St. Louis back on the gangster rap map, arguing that he was indeed the best rapper that the city had ever produced, while others simply believed that he had a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to make it out the streets, and he blew it. But while 30 Deep Grimeyy was locked up, a new wave of St. Louis drill rappers begun to rise, and none turned more heads than the artist known as CTS Luh Wick, whose buzz exploded not just from his music or his unconventional appearance, but from the fact that he'd already beaten a murder charge before most people had even heard his name. It was 2:15 p.m. on a sweltering August afternoon in 2022, and a 19-year-old Michael Henderson, better known to the streets of St. Louis as the rapper CTS Luh Wick, was riding his mini bike through the south side of the city with his friends. What he didn't know was that in the next few minutes, he would be fighting for his life in a deadly road rage shootout that would turn him from an up-and-coming local rapper into a national news story, because soon after, a white Jeep going in the opposite direction would suddenly make a U-turn and start following Luh Wick. The Jeep pulled up next to Wick, and soon things would go terribly wrong, as Wick would drive his motorcycle in front of the Jeep and turn his gun towards the car, opening fire. The driver, 42-year-old Joseph Raymond Shaw, was struck in the forehead by a bullet, taking his life instantly, while his Jeep would then spin off the road and crash near the intersection of Broadway and Nebraska Avenue. Meanwhile, Luh Wick would also crash his motorcycle before fleeing the scene on foot, unaware that surveillance cameras had just captured everything and that his life was about to change forever. Before this fateful day, Luh Wick had been born and raised on the streets of Southside St. Louis, where he eventually also attended Roosevelt High School before dropping out in 9th grade. This decision would ultimately lead him not only towards the music that would define his young life, but also make him another kid lost in the treacherous streets of St. Louis, with Wick himself revealing during his No Jumper interview just how early his relationships with guns and violence began, where he claimed that he'd been carrying guns since he was only 10 years old.
Did you feel the need to get a gun at 10? Like, motherfuckers just started jumping people and shit like that. Like, it went from fighting to jumping to, you know, motherfuckers going getting their own guns and shit.
By 13, things would escalate as Wick would get booked for his first shooting, establishing a pattern that would follow him throughout his teenage years.
I got booked for an assault first degree when I was a juvenile. I was like 13 or 14. Yeah, I had to shoot somebody. They was waving the gun. I was just walking down the street. It was this grown dude. And he like, you grinning at? And I'm like, huh? And he instantly get the waving his little gun and I instantly up blick on him. He like, you ain't gonna blow that motherfucker, white boy. You ain't gonna blow that motherfucker, white boy. I just get the blowing at his ass, and I got booked for that. That's when I first even found out what self-defense was.
A few years later, Luh Wick would start his rap career at the age of 15, slowly crafting the persona that would eventually make him a standout in St. Louis's drill scene.
Got me rapping this shit, and they was fucking with it. We turned up on that.
And what age is this when you start rapping?
I want to say like 15.
Around this time, Wick would also seemingly begin experiencing losses to the streets, with one of the hardest being the death of his friend Jody, who would be killed in a shooting. At this point, Wick had become affiliated with the local gang set known as 70 CTS, CTS standing for both Courtois Street or Certified Trap Stars, with the gang being located far in the south side. His set would also be affiliated with several other sets and cliques, such as the clique known as the Valet Gang, with members from the hood known as 43 Gib, from the 4300 block of Gibson Avenue, known for rappers like Wanky G, and a clique known as the Artillery Gang, whose most famous member is a rapper known as Esco Jammin from the hood 5053, or simply the 50, in North St. Louis. In 2021, Wick began to drop numerous music videos, and while it's not clear how much attention these videos were getting at the time, Wick would immediately catch people off guard, being one of the few white drill rappers coming out of St. Louis. But don't let his skinny frame fool you, this is a dangerous young man. He can be seen toting guns and rapping about shooting people in numerous of his songs and videos. In fact, he likely reminded many fans of a white drill rapper who went viral a few years earlier called Slim Jesus. However, Slim Jesus notoriously lost all his aura after admitting that he wasn't really a savage in the streets like he portrayed in his music. However, CTS Luh Wick was the real deal and really rapping about his real life in the streets where he had just caught a body. Soon he would begin to catch some attention online, like in the St. Louis drill subreddit, where someone would post a picture of Wick toting a Draco together with members of the Valet Gang and Artillery Gang, with one user commenting how he must be either the plug or really about it, to which another user would comment how Wick looked like he really had some bodies. However, what would really start to get Wick some attention was his appearance in the YouTuber Tommy G's 2022 vlog about the gangs of St. Louis, where Tommy would pull up to Ruskin Avenue to film with the Artillery Gang, with a young Wick also making a cameo.
Oh my gosh.
What's up, fellas?
How's it going, boss?
Alright. Fellas, where are we at right now?
Ruskin Ave with it, man.
In the video, the whole group can be seen showing off guns while claiming they were just protecting the neighbors.
What do you think the neighbors feel about this? Are neighbors scared to go outside?
They think it's cool because they feel like they well protected type shit. They rather have some guns over here than not have no guns over here.
Wick would also get to talk to Tommy, revealing that he was only 17 years old at the time of this video.
How old are you guys?
This exposure would help launch his profile in the STL drill scene, and his song Smash, which he had released exactly 1 month before the release of Tommy's vlog, now sits at almost 2 million views. But just a month later, in August, none of that mattered, because Luh Wick would get involved in the shooting that killed Joseph Shaw and fled the scene, becoming a wanted man in his hometown. According to a Views from the Arch interview with Wick himself, he wasn't exactly on the run, but he was actively ducking the cops, explaining how he was using the time to actually try and find a good lawyer.
I gotta get a lawyer. Like that, you know? I gotta get a lawyer. Yeah. Cause I wasn't finna go on the run. I ain't finna go on the screen for that shit. You gonna get caught. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I'm finna chill. I'm finna eat good for a second. Like I was ducking that. I wasn't on the run though, but I was ducking that. You know? I was ducking the police like a motherfucker.
A few months later, he was arrested and charged with first-degree murder and armed criminal action, facing the possibility of life in prison. On paper, the prosecution had what looked like a slam-dunk case, as surveillance cameras had captured the entire incident. But when the case went to trial in January 2024, Luh Wick would recount how he and a few friends had been riding their mini bikes around the city when Shaw's white Jeep had made a U-turn and started following them, before pulling up next to him, the two exchanging some heated words before the Jeep's occupant pulled out a gun, causing Wick to speed off. But only seconds later, he would hear gunshots and pull out his own weapon, returning fire in self-defense. While the prosecution would claim that there simply wasn't enough time shown on the surveillance video for these events to have occurred in the way that Wick claimed, he would go on to beat the case and be found not guilty on both first-degree murder and armed criminal action charges. Wick would get back to freedom, and with a legal body to rap about, he would jump headfirst into the drill scene to take advantage of his new image as St. Louis's biggest demon, dropping a music video titled First Day Out in February 2024, about a month after his not guilty verdict. The song and music video would see Wick rapping about shooting people through their windshields, and he would state that if labels want to sign him, now it's going to cost them about $10 million. The track would go on to rack up almost 2 million views in about a year, proving that his legal victory had somehow transformed him from a local STL rapper into a household name, and he had literally lived out the scenarios that he had rapped about and walked away to tell the tale. But CTS Luh Wick's legal victory didn't end the conflicts in his life, which had long been brewing in the background, as the YouTuber STL rap videos would later break down on his channel. Esco Jammin, the rapper from Ruskin Avenue in North St. Louis, where Tommy G had had filmed his vlog with LocHeadGang, had been collaborating with Wick in the past on several songs, and it seemed like they'd become genuine friends. However, things would begin to go left after the Tommy G video, as it would turn out that the police had actually launched an investigation into a slew of car break-ins spanning from Amazon warehouses to children's hospitals all over Metro St. Louis.
Overnight, police responded to calls for car break-ins in 2 major facilities that looked a lot like this. Car windows bashed in with glass everywhere. This happening at the Amazon warehouse in St. Charles, and then here at the Rankin Jordan Pediatric Center in Maryland Heights.
This would result in the arrest of multiple people, including Wick's right-hand man, CTS T4, who was now facing dozens of felony counts for everything from property damage to gun theft, and would later be slammed with a 5-year sentence. Shortly after, Luh Wick would also get locked up for the Shaw shooting, leaving guys like Esco to hold things down while he fought for his freedom behind bars. But from Luh Wick's perspective, Esco wasn't doing enough to support him during the darkest period of his life, while also moving wrong out in the streets.
It ain't really too serious, motherfuckers. It's a lot of shit. Motherfuckers wasn't hitting my books. Motherfuckers was moving wrong. I'm hearing motherfuckers they're popping perks and shit.
However, the final straw allegedly came when accusations of snitching entered the picture. During the car theft investigation, someone had allegedly given police incriminating information, and fingers started pointing at a member called Len Steppedy, a family member of Esco's crew. Luh Wick would quickly sever ties with everyone connected to the alleged snitching, including Esco. And by the time Luh Wick beat his murder case and got released, the 2 former friends who had built their careers together had become bitter enemies. T4, who has since gotten out on parole after doing 50% of his sentence, would open up about the beef and the snitching that led to it in his interview with Nick O'Neill Media.
Man, I see Discovery and shit, man. He like, yeah, man, I was downtown, you know what I'm saying? Like, I called my mom and my people there for a ride, and they sent Thomas, you know what I'm saying? That's me, that's my last name. They sent Thomas me, and I ain't know the car was stolen, I ain't know the guns was stolen, shit like that. Ooh, they asked me how the guns came to my crib. I said my friends had it, you know what I'm saying? Just saying shit that implicated that I was there. You know what I'm saying?
Identify him as the driver of the stolen car.
On
bro.
First off, you know what I'm saying? Like,
just shut the fuck up.
You could just shut the fuck up. Man. I've been through the whole time I was locked up, no bullshit.
Been winning with us.
Esco, on the other hand, would respond to T4's version during his interview by saying that the reasons for the beef were much deeper than that, but he didn't want to get into it.
Oh, we don't fuck with them. That's about it.
It's like everything that like bro came on here and saying, it's like true about like what he was saying. But goddamn me, it's like more like it's more to the story. Goddamn me, it's more to the story.
It's more deeper than that.
Yeah, it's more deeper than that.
You know?
Yeah.
Because of this beef, Esco and Wick would begin trading shots on social media, with Esco pulling up to Wick's hood and taunting him on his IG story.
Scared.
Wait,
scared.
Hold on, stop right here.
Scared. Yeah. Cause out here playing. Yeah. Out here playing. Look. Out here playing. They just posted like they spent through her game. They spent through her all day long.
He would also diss another CTS member in a very disrespectful way by posting a freaky photo of his sister, and even releasing a song and music video titled CTSK or CTS Killer, where he would take numerous shots at CTS Luh Wick, starting by saying how Wick knows that Esco has been about that life, but now that Wick has one confirmed body, he's acting like he invented killing, while also claiming that Wick was just mad about the fact that Esco was making money while Wick was still broke despite all the media attention. But Wick's beefing wasn't just contained to St. Louis either, as he would notably participate in dissing the deceased Chicago rapper Bloodhound Lil Jeff in a vlog, while his friend would shout out Bloodhound's ops, a gang from Chicago called the 9-5 Mob. So far, Luh Wick has made good moves with the cards that he's been dealt, and if he can stay focused on the music now and leave the street politics behind, he could really go far. His musical catalogue is really impressive, with 2 full-length mixtapes, Facing Life and Life of a Trap Star. Wick delivers really aggressive and high-energy drill raps over hard beats with a level of energy and rage that verges into punk rock at times. I feel like the energy of CTS Luh Wick's music does kind of remind me a little bit of Lil Jeff, but with a slightly more Midwestern Southern vibe. But you can't live like Lil Jeff and rap about it for too long. So I hope that at this point in his life, CTS Luh Wick has distanced himself from the streets and focused more on business and music. Because if he keeps getting pulled back into these street beefs, it's likely only a matter of time before he finds himself right back where he was last time, or even worse. Luh Wick has managed to become one of the most buzzing artists in the world of St. Louis gangster rap, all off the back of his case, and he's a legend in the city just like 30 Deep Grimeyy. But elsewhere in St. Louis, the newest and most dangerous generation of drill rappers are now battling for who gets to be the next big artist to come up out the streets. But for even some of the most buzzing new rappers, being so close to a gang at war can bring your life and career to an abrupt halt at any moment. And one of the core tragically ended up in a shootout, taking both of each other's lives at the same time. Tucked between Interstate 70 and Riverview Boulevard in North St. Louis lies the Walnut Park West neighborhood, where the 5700 block of Floyd Floyd Avenue stands out as one of the most notorious blocks in the city's drill scene, forming the main turf of the hood known as 57 Floyd. 57 Floyd is not just a single hood, but part of a large alliance of hoods that covers almost the entire Walnut Park West, known as the Sixx, or the group being known as the Sixers. The name Sixx comes from the fact that this area is actually within the 6th Police District of St. Louis, but perhaps also from the fact that practically all of these hoods are known for repping the Rollin' 60s neighborhood Crips, carrying on the violent legacy of their Los Angeles predecessors in the heart of Missouri. But while several other sets across the 6th District, like Acme Mob, Mimika Mob, and Emma Mob, claim the Sixx, it's the crew from 57 Floyd that has arguably become the face of the alliance, building their reputation one body and diss track at a time. 57 Floyd is known for several popular rappers, the most well known likely being KB6, who began rapping under the name LocHeadGang KB around 2018. He was quite a versatile artist and was doing a lot of auto-tune pain music, showing a pretty impressive level of artistry compared to some of his peers. But after the death of some of his friends, he would change his rap name to KB6, and going on an impeccable run, with his most popular song to date being the 2019 track Going Off, which has a music video that has over 1 million views. However, the loss of his friends in the streets motivated him to go even harder with the music, and over time he built up an impressive catalogue of beloved tracks. He was even playing live shows, and as mentioned before, he notoriously had a beef with 30 Deep Grimeyy, as Grimeyy dropped the song Dead Goofies, and KB was one of the people who got dissed in the song. The song was a hit, and Grimeyy even went on Genius Verified to break down all of his disses in the song. So KB would retaliate in diss songs of his own that did pretty good numbers, even though Grimeyy had all of the spotlight in the city. His direct response was called 30 Dead Homies, and it dropped 5 days after 30 Deep Grimey's Dead Goofies, which he then followed up with another diss called Say Cheese Part 2 Dookie. KB was on the rise, even getting a feature from Pooh Shiesty on the song Shiesty Sick. However, there was a darker side to KB6 beyond the music, with posts on Reddit making dubious claims about him having 5 hats, or bodies, with an estimate of 4, according to some being more accurate, and as we'll discuss later, some of these would arguably end up playing a key part in the beef that would escalate, ending in his death. There's also a whole bunch of mostly younger guys from the Sixx who rap under the Hothead moniker, as they rep a clique known as the LocHeadGang or HHG, with Hothead Capone being one of the most prolific rappers from this group. His most popular song is a big link up with another Sixx rapper called Nudie Sixx, and a rapper from 1100 Murderside known as Robbo Murder, as well as a guy called Meesky Money from another hood known as the O, with this showing a whole bunch of alliances between several of the most dangerous hoods in St. Louis making its way into music, and these alliances sadly don't always hold up, as sometime after this, Hothead Capone would end up falling out with Robbo Murder's brother, fellow Murderside rapper C4 Murder, who we'll discuss in more detail later. Hothead Capone truly lives up to his name, and constantly disses his ops in songs and on social media, including a very disrespectful song with the rapper Spinner K called F All the Ops. In fact, Hothead disses dead ops so much that people in the comments speculate on his body count in the streets, with some believing that he actually claims murders that other members committed. He also doesn't have much care for the law, and would boldly post on IG how his crew were making the news long before rapping, and posting how his crew stepped for real while shouting out another clique from the Sixx known as Stretcher Gang. Then you've also got Nudie Sixx, another rapper from the Sixx, who's dropped a lot of tracks on YouTube, but like a lot of rappers in St. Louis, a lot of his biggest bangers aren't even on streaming services like Spotify, with this sort of thing making me think a lot of rappers from St. Louis take the streets more seriously than their music careers. But anyway, Nudie and Capone made some highly disrespectful songs together, like the track World War III, which we'll talk about in detail later. But beyond the music, they also regularly go live together dissing their various ops, like members of Valet Gang, known for their affiliation with CTS Luh Wick, and the members of Murderside that they would have a falling out with.
Hey yo, get crack trying to whop something, you ain't never shot none. Spin through they block 2 or 3 times, I bet this Draco stop some. Valet Gang, they them boys ain't never parked now on my granny. Ain't mad his head, I'm trying to park some, hop out, I'm a hawk some. C4 gon' drop his gun, Robbo, that's better run. This switch right off a whole ton, then you gon' die for none. Glock 22 with a switch and 50 buck out just for fun. Before that lick your warehouse friend, ain't had no fun. Ain't even had no gun. Have a gun, better call a truce war it's done. Hey, you gon' shake your ass on label 10 holes in your face. I put that on shade. Your ass don't meet it in them heavy gates. I still smoke on Richie Rondo, dumb dinner every day on KB.
Another rapper from the Sixx is Jig Six, who had a poppin' song called Reminisce with 3 Problems from a gang that they're allied with called the O, where they would thoroughly diss their ops. Jig Six also features in his songs other fellow Sixers like Heavy Six, with them having a posse cut called Gang Signs that also features rapper Low Bands, aka Lil Low, and Bunu Murder, who is originally from a hood called 32N Dub. There's also a newer generation of rappers from Floyd and the Sixx more broadly, perhaps the best of these rappers being known as ManMan Sixx, whose high energy anthem which strand has close to 500,000 views on YouTube. ManMan is from the Acme mob hood, but is heavily affiliated with Floyd, as shown in his vlog with TJ Films.
Where we at?
On Acme.
We on Acme. We on Acme.
Hey, you know, I'm from Acme, cuz. I'm from 5600 Acme, cuz. You know, this the real 5600.
So this.
Shout out to my Floyd boys across the street, though.
So y'all got the Floyd boy. Let me get on this side. So y'all got ties with Floyd. Who else?
Other up-and-coming rappers from the Sixx include guys like SGKPZ, who hails from the LAC side or the Lucille Ave Crips, and also reps the clique known as LocHeadGang. Some years ago, the Sixx allied themselves with the 1600 OZ, aka the O, as well as the 4, creating an alliance known as 064. The O, which also goes by names like Hammertown and Huncho Gang, is a majority blood gang hood located around the former O'Fallon Place apartments, whose roots go back decades. And just like many other hoods in the area, the city's ongoing revitalization and gentrification has turned some of these corners that held generations of gang history into open construction sites in recent years. Being in the streets in this neighborhood comes at a cost, and there's been a string of unfortunate souls in the local area who have lost their lives due to the proximity to these gang wars. Members like Charles, Tyree Spencer Jr., and Kyle, aka Crazy K. Hammertown has also bred rappers like Meesky Money and a rap group known as 3 Problems, made up of Rello, Lil Tay, and Swag Huncho, and they would heavily rep Hammertown in their music, and their tracks such as Slide featuring Juice 23 and Problo Gang KB have racked up over 1.5 million views. Swag Huncho would go viral for their track Problems, with them dancing in the video with a gun going viral, but the guns weren't just for show, and Huncho was rumoured to have had 5 bodies, allegedly finding his first victim when he was only 12 or 13 years old. This allegedly being a 17-year-old girl called Renisha Precious Cole, who was shot outside of a nightclub in 2010. He also had a reputation of backdooring people close to him, allegedly setting up 3 of his own homies in 2015, one of them being HB from Skank Gang, as well as backdooring Gino aka Skeezy from Blender Gang. But then, in 2015, Huncho himself was shot and killed at just 18 years old.
An 18-year-old Ferguson rapper, once featured by Rolling Stone, was gunned down on Sunday morning in North St. Louis. Police found the lifeless body of James Johnson Jr., better known as Swag Huncho, shortly after 10 a.m. in the Jeff Vanderloo neighborhood. He'd been shot in the head at least twice by an unknown killer, authorities said.
Some say he was set up by his own homie Blender Boo as retaliation for killing Gino, but then Blender Boo too would get killed in a triple shooting soon after. The death of Huncho affected the group immensely.
This my brother died, you know what I'm saying? My childhood, you know what I'm saying? So I ain't gonna lie to you, it got to me. I got the trip. I'm in jail, I'm young, my brother just died. You know what I'm saying? I'm tripping.
3 Problems released a tribute song to Huncho's memory, but meanwhile he would get regularly dissed by his ops.
Swag got killed for thinking he's Gino. You hear me? Swag got killed for thinking he's Gino. That rag straight. Swag got killed for thinking he's Gino.
Swag Huncho's death was devastating for the older generation of street figures from the O, but meanwhile the new generation of rappers would step in and make music about the war going on in the streets. People like Meesky Money, who we'll get into more later.
I love this shit.
The Sixx and their allies are known for their rivalry with several different hoods, but one common denominator with one of their most fiercest rivals is that they rep the Six Deuce Crips, with their most well-known rivalry being with the 30 Deep clique, headed by the previously mentioned 30 Deep Grimeyy, who KB6 would famously diss in his song 30 Dead Homies, a response to Grimey's diss track Dead Goofies. However, there is also another Six Deuce hood who have been in a bloody war with the Sixx for years now, this beef eventually leading to one of the most tragic events in the history of St. Louis drill. In the city of Jennings in St. Louis County, about 10 minutes drive north from the hood of 57 Floyd, stands the 2600 block of Solway Avenue, home to the Six Deuce Crips, known as the 26 Solway, who much like 30 Deep Grimeyy are known for proudly rocking the colours of the Six Deuce Crips in St. Louis, blue and orange. This is also why their ops like the Sixx often diss them by saying 2 or Deuce Killer and by cracking 2s with their fingers. 26 Solway are best known for their several popular rappers who rep a clique known as the BigBuckz, the most well known of the group being the rapper BigBuckz Von, who had begun rapping already around 2017 under the name 2 Bucks, his most popular solo song being the 2018 Drug Anthem with Big 5, which has over 850,000 views on YouTube, while other popular songs include tracks like Goofy Weather, Da Vinci or Hot, and Road Rage, where he bragged how his crew will kill their ops and how the Big Bucks are good in every hood. A lot of his music is about wrecking cars and going on high-speed chases, and he calls himself the High-Speed King and Mr. Break the Motor, even releasing songs like the 2018 High-Speed Anthem that would play a key role in defining the St. Louis drill sound under the nickname High Speed Music.
BigBuckz Vine, man, with $2, BigBuckz Vine, however you want to call it, man, you know? Like High Speed King, break the motor, E-brake, jump the curve, whatever you want to call me, man. You know what I do, you know?
Yeah. I feel like, for real, I feel like you
give you a rose while you here, man. I feel like you started that high speed. They give it to bruh, you know.
Yeah.
I say you. I say $2. You hear me?
Yeah, no, I ain't gonna fake it. I ain't gonna take the credit from everybody though. Like, you know, everybody, you know, motherfuckers probably started it. I give it to them, but like, ain't nobody get on it how I'm on it. Motherfuckers say I take out high speeds, but like, I really high speed, name motors, brake motors, cars, all that. Like, I really do this, recording it. Like, I'm really doing it, you know. Like, I don't know if it's faking. You know what I mean? Cause then be like, why would you want to break your motor? I don't be wanting to break my motor. This shit happen.
Boys ain't trying to go outside, just break the motor. Should just be happy and be assed out.
There's even a video going around Reddit of him seemingly filming himself in the back of a car that rams a pedestrian. He later changed his rapping name to BigBuckz Von, continuing to release music prolifically, including songs like Fallen Soldiers in 2020, where he rapped about his dead friends, this being a singing, pain music type song, which shows that he has the most versatility of perhaps any artist that I've seen in St. Louis. But his beef with the Ops and 57 Floyd is very personal, and one video even circulated on Reddit apparently showing BigBuckz Von fist fighting with Hothead Capone from 57 Floyd at a gun show in 2021.
Beat him! Beat him! Beat him! Beat him!
There's also BigBuckz Trey, who started dropping music a few years after Von around 2018, his breakthrough track being the song Catch and Cuts, dropping in October 2020. This was an aggressive song that ended with a skit where Trey and BigBuckz members would diss numerous enemy gangs and dead rivals. In one interview with Views from the Arch, Trey would discuss how he had written much of his music while in jail.
I wrote that in jail. Oh God, I wrote
all
that.
I can tell you.
He recorded that shit.
Yeah, most
oh,
of
damn, for real?
Yeah, most of that. They catching cuts and shit.
Trey's gathered numerous music videos with over hundreds of thousands of views, including his most popular song, Yop Yop, and my favourite song of his called Task Force on Me. But Trey and Von often work closely together, including on their 2021 joint mixtape Soul Way or No Way, and numerous music videos like the track 2-Man Mission, as well as He Shot, where they diss members from the Sixx like KB, and Strictly for the Ops, where they once again talk about their passion for high-speed chases with the cops, which Trey is also apparently known for doing, even with him seemingly posting a clip of another member doing the dash from St. Louis Police on his IG story. In his Views from the Arch interview, Trey would casually describe the process of going through a high-speed chase and being disappointed that it didn't last long enough.
Then on my way out, it got spiked and shit. Oh God, there wasn't shit I could do. Got didn't go right. Lasted a little minute, not long enough. This shit, hopped out, got caught with everything. This shit, they locked me up. And then I was a juvenile. I got certified and shit.
Von and Trey are the most known faces of the BigBuckz, but there are also many other members, like BigBuckz Nick, who has apparently not been on many songs, but according to Von, is mostly involved in street activity.
What's up with Nick, man? He made that one song, he came out, that's something slight. Where you been at, man? He made sense.
Man, that's Nick for you, man. Man, Nick out here somewhere, man. He finna be on the man. He out here, man. It's Nick for you. Nick wasn't never no rapper, man. He be on some straight street 24/7.
Everybody got their role.
Hey, don't they though?
Everybody got their role.
Then there's BigBuckz Izzle, BigBuckz Sticks, and BigBuckz or Soulway JB. However, the most popular song by the BigBuckz clique by far is a track called BigBuckz Anthem, which features Von together with another BigBuckz rapper called Eloo B, or simply Eloo. The music video for the song now has over 2 million views, but unlike Von and Trey, Eloo's music career consisted of only a couple of songs that were dropped few and far in between, and more than music, Eloo would become known in the streets as a shooter who wasn't afraid to rap about his gangbanging activities. He was apparently the section's top hitter and had an impressive collection of customized guns, seemingly being obsessed with guns and rapping about them a lot. His Instagram also has no posts, but plenty of saved stories that show him toting guns and money, and he had a lot of beef with people he used to be cool with some even claiming that he was the reason that the Six Deuce Crips had become so hated in St. Louis, while others claimed him to have been the one to spark the latest war between the Rollin' 60s and the Six Deuces. But to understand why Eloo would become so hated, we have to go all the way back to where the animosity between these two sides first became deadly. In 2016, a young man called Rookie, also known as Ruger Rock or Rook 4, was a popular 17-year-old from the north side of St. Louis. Rookie and his friends repped a clique called OTF, with one of these friends seemingly being none other than Eloo B, or Elijah OTF as he was going by at the time. On around the 5th of December 2016, at around 6:30 PM, Rookie and two friends were driving north on the 5400 block of Riverview Boulevard, after just leaving their school, the Northwest Academy of Law, where they had been watching a basketball game, when another car reportedly drove close to their car and someone inside opened fire. Rookie, real name Damani H, would pass away from his injuries, while his friends would fortunately end up surviving the attack. Rookie's death was a major loss to the people close to him, and they started a clique known as LocHeadGang in his honor, while Eloo too was heartbroken, wishing that he could bring his friend back, whilst promising that he would push for Rookie, the meaning of that not being entirely clear. At the time, Rookie's murder would go unsolved, but if online rumors are to be believed, Rookie was killed by none other than KB6, 57 Floyd's biggest rapper, with some even claiming that certain songs, like the song Long Live KB6 from the rap group Sixers, confirms that KB did indeed kill Rookie, with one Redditor pointing out specific lyrics that supposedly confirm this claim, like the lyric about KB catching someone on a one-way street, although Rookie wasn't actually killed on a one-way street, but on Riverview Boulevard, a major two-way arterial road that runs through the northwestern part of the city. However, there is a known one-way street where KB may have indeed caught a body, which we'll discuss later on. But whoever was behind the murder of Rookie, his death must have flipped a switch in Eloo, who would allegedly catch a body of his own a few years later in October 2018, when 18-year-old Kamal Jackson Jr., known in the streets as Eloo B Slime, was gunned down in a drive-by shooting on the 10300 block of Lilac Avenue. Eloo B Slime was part of a clique known as BBG or Buki Bucky Gang, who was seemingly cool with BigBuckz back in the day before falling out for some reason and becoming each other's biggest enemies. And as the wildest rumor goes, after shooting Slime, Eloo would get out of the car and grab the headband from him that had the big letters spelling BBG, which he would then put on himself and take a picture that he posted online. Eloo B Slime was allegedly the brother of a guy known as Trey Fours, and apparently also cousins with KB6 from Floyd. This murder, if true, explains why Eloo was so hated by his ops and would be dissed relentlessly in songs from rappers tied to both BBG and the Sixx. There have also been rumors that Eloo may have killed an older member from the Sixx from the Acme Mob set called KO, real name Dion Woods, who was killed in May 2019 in a quadruple shooting in one of the blocks claimed by the Sixx, this shooting also claiming the life of another person. KO is a respected name, with many younger members often paying their respects to him. In fact, some people on Reddit have even actually claimed that KO was the father of the new generation rapper ManMan Sixx, or his cousin. Although this hasn't been confirmed, ManMan has heavily repped KO on his social media and music and merches it on his life all the time. Others have disputed the claims that Eloo was actually behind this shooting, suggesting that he was actually locked up at the time, with the real culprits possibly being the 30 Deep clique. But what is for certain is that later that same year, Eloo B's side would experience another major loss, when in October 2019, a member of the BigBuckz, known as Caleb Twos, real name Caleb Smith, was gunned down in an alley on the 8300 block of Strathmore Place, about 2 miles away from 26 Solway's Hood.
Here in this alley, right here behind me, this is where the shooting took place. Right behind that police car is where the victim's body is lying right now, just at Strathmore Place. A number of people said that they heard the gunshots and described the sound as coming from 2 different calibers of guns. The police were putting out evidence markers in the alley as people who lived nearby watched. Witnesses told us that they saw the dead body of a man in his 20s lying in the alley on the north side of Strathmore. There was a search in the neighborhood for suspects, and a witness told me that officers checked nearby homes to make sure that none of those suspects was hiding in a home. One man was on his porch nearby with his 2-year-old daughter when he heard the gunfire.
It was like maybe 7 or 8, 9 of them, and then there was an exchange of a small caliber gun.
Already the following day, the police would make a breakthrough, arresting 19-year-old Darion Thomas for the murder, who was better known in the streets as D-Baby, member of the Sixx.
An update to a story we first brought you as breaking news at 10. A man now faces a murder charge after a 17-year-old was found shot to death in a Jennings alley. Darion Thomas is charged with first-degree murder, accused of killing Caleb Smith. According to court documents, Thomas and another man chased Smith into an alley on Strathmore Place near West Florissant. The man Thomas was with shot at Smith, but police say Thomas is the one who killed the teenager. His bond is set at $1 million.
But the police wouldn't stop there, and eventually in 2021, 2 more people from the Sixx were charged with the murder of Caleb, including Christopher Williams, aka Lassie, and Jalen Sims, aka Pac-Man, who was seemingly a close friend of KB6. It would turn out that this was only one of the many serious charges that Sims had been collecting, because already in November of 2019, he would be arrested and charged with car break-ins.
New tonight, a serial criminal busted in West County. The arrest caught News 4's attention because of the suspect's rap sheet. Jalen Sims is one of 3 men arrested for breaking into cars in Chesterfield. That took place just off Chesterfield Parkway. It's worth noting that's just down the street from the Chesterfield Police Headquarters.
It's literally almost right across the street from our police station, so bad choice of the criminals for that, because again, our guys were right there, and we had several officers in the area very quickly.
News 4 found Sims is no stranger to the law. He's done time for burglary, unlawful use of a weapon, and resisting arrest. The source tells us other charges will be coming.
which was followed by 2 charges of armed carjacking, one of these leading to the death of a man, which Sims would plead guilty, receiving a 25-year sentence. Meanwhile, after Caleb's death, members of 26 Solway and BigBuckz would form a clique in his honor called the LocHeadGang, and although there are more people who have died on both sides of this rivalry, it was likely that these losses would help explain a later tragic incident that would end up happening during the summer of 2020. The year 2020 in St. Louis wasn't just the deadliest year in the city's history since the 70s, but the deadliest in the entire country's history over the past 60 years when it comes to cities with over 250,000 inhabitants. Unfortunately, the war between the Sixx and 26 Solway was about to reach its brutal culmination that year, leading to one of the most insane incidents in the history of St. Louis drill. It was Wednesday, July the 29th, 2020, and KB6 and his partners were outside in the Walnut Park West neighborhood, hanging in their hood on the infamous Floyd Avenue in the heart of the Sixx. As local news would report, July had been the deadliest month of this already deadly year, with 50 murders that month, making up an insane 1/3 of the year's overall homicide tally at that point. And like always, the great majority of these homicides had taken place in North City. A bit before 1:45 p.m, a stolen car would creep through the neighborhood with 3 armed men inside. This car would drive down the 5500 block of Floyd Avenue, and eventually the people inside that car would find what they were looking for, spotting KB6 himself, real name Malik Taylor, seemingly on his own, making him look like an easy target. The people in the car would open fire, hitting KB, who would fall to the ground next to some parked cars and pass away at the scene. That was only the beginning of what was about to transpire, because after the trio in the car had shot and killed KB, his friends, who were seemingly hanging somewhere close by, would rush to the scene and immediately open fire on the car with the 3 assailants. What happened next has been open to intense debate, but according to one version of the story, the person sitting on the front passenger seat was 18-year-old Daysav, real name Dijon Nearing. He would attempt to shoot at the people taking aim at the car, and by accident would end up shooting and killing the driver of the car, BigBuckz Eloo himself, real name Elijah McKinney, while other versions claim that it was either KB6 himself who was able to take aim at Eloo B and shoot him dead, or that he was even able to kill both Eloo and Daysav before succumbing to his injuries. Another theory is that the people that came to KB's help actually ended up shooting and killing Eloo. Von would also later discuss the events of that day in his song Fallen Soldiers, where he rapped that Eloo would have made it home if Von had been with him, but in any case, it was mission completed because KB lost his life and Eloo got his revenge for Rookie. Von would also seemingly claim that KB didn't kill Eloo and that he knows what actually happened, but it's nothing to talk about, possibly implying that it was indeed Daysav who killed his own friend by accident. Although according to official news sources, it was in fact the people on the street who likely killed Eloo, as well as then killing Daysav, who was seemingly gunned down while attempting to escape the scene on foot as his body was found outside the car, with the rapper Nudie Sixx later posting a picture of his body at the scene on social media. Meanwhile, there was the third assailant who was sitting in the back seat of the car, 17-year-old Josh, aka Tay2's, real name Joshua Amerson, who would somehow manage to escape the situation on foot even after getting shot himself.
Yeah, Vic, of the 3 men who were shot and killed in North City this afternoon are determined to be officially homicides.
Next to the car after the shootout was uploaded to Reddit after being posted as a story by BigBuckz members. Scenes were captured and published by the St. Louis Dispatch, showing women breaking down at the scene, describing it as a drive-by shooting, while Washington Post, via Associated Press, published a picture showing the scene taped off. But while Josh had miraculously survived the shootout, things weren't over for him, because later in 2020, he would be charged with not just the murder of KB, but also the murders of Eloo and Daysav, since he was the only surviving member from the party who had been the aggressors in the incident. This was ultimately a sad loss for all sides, and it really shows you just how much of a dead end this cycle of gang violence truly can be. However, shockingly, a few years later in 2023, the charges were suddenly dropped due to constant problems with witness cooperation in the case. While Josh had made the case that KB6 fired first, and they simply returned fire in self-defense, with prosecutors even being unable to pin down witnesses to testify against that version of events, describing most of the witnesses as in the wind, clearly a wider issue in the city. But Josh wouldn't get to celebrate for long, because only days later, police would close in on him once again, this time arresting him on drug and gun charges, after he had tried to flee in true St. Louis style, taking the cops on a high-speed chase that would end in a spike strip. Following the failed escape attempt, the police would find Josh in possession of an illegal weapon, as well as 800 pills in the car that was believed to be laced with fentanyl. It seems that the feds would eventually take over the case, and in 2024, Josh would end up doing a plea deal and was sentenced to 6 years in prison. Afterwards, some wild conspiracy theories would surface on Reddit, with one person claiming that it was in fact 30 Deep Grimeyy who had put money on KB's head due to his own side's war with the Sixx and the disses that KB had sent his way, which Eloo had then tried to collect with deadly consequences. Regardless, in the end, both sides of the war would be mourning the loss of their friends, and comments on Reddit would point out how this drill, where nearly everybody died, is really not something to brag about. Members of 26 Solway would be seen in Long Live Eloo shirts after his funeral, while BigBuckz Von actually actually reshared pictures of Eloo B holding the gun alleged to have been used to kill KB6, calling it the KB6 Soul Taker. And posts would circulate on Reddit stating that the city turned against him, but praising him for remaining in the city despite the pressure from the ops. Von and Trey would discuss how the death of Eloo B affected them in an interview with the STL platform Views from the Arch, making it clear that Eloo B was a problem in the streets.
Eloo B.
He was a problem.
I was just gonna say, like, it seemed like he evidently was, you know, known.
Yeah.
And it seemed like he got a lot of love and he also got a lot of hate.
Von would explain how Eloo was a loose cannon in the streets and would go to war, right or wrong.
Eloo, man, he just one of them. Man, he one of them brothers. Shit, Eloo is Eloo, so that's basically what it is. Like, so he one of them brothers that like, man, like you ain't telling him like I ain't gonna fake it. Like you not telling him the sky blue, and you know it's blue, man. Cause like I don't know, cause you ain't telling Eloo. I ain't gonna fake it. Cause the sky blue, you know it's blue, and he tell you it's green, you standing on it. Like on my mom, like he going for his green. Nobody ain't telling him he gonna go to war about it. On my mom, like
basically,
just yeah. Man, Eloo just wild, cuz, but he just like, yeah, like, yeah.
Eloo was the problem, though. They do love and hate him, but they hate him for a reason.
But the love and hate, I love all this, because they keep it publicity, you know, they keep his name alive, everybody do.
Trey would explain the day that Eloo B lost his life was actually the same day that he was released from jail.
You said that when you on your first day out, was that the day that he passed?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. First day I had got out of DYS, he had died.
How was that feeling?
Just lost for real, cause like it's a good thing I got out, then a bad thing, you know, just lost.
Later in the interview, after being asked how much dope they put in a wood, they would diss KB6, saying they smoke him.
What y'all be stuffing in y'all woods?
K. Well, I call him K.
I was talking about like a 3.5.
They're like a 3.5. No, I don't know. I just feel it till it stop. You know, shit, we smoke out the piece, so we don't never know.
For real, just put it in there till it's a nice amount. Big fat wood.
Eerily, the night after that shootout took place, which took the lives of both KB6 and Eloo B, a new song from Eloo B was uploaded to YouTube at 10 PM, meaning that it was recorded and scheduled for upload before this shootout happened, and in a crazy twist of fate, it went on to become the biggest hit from 26 Solway to this date. This was the track BigBuckz Anthem, which was released together with a music video that had been edited to pay tribute to Eloo. Shockingly, Eloo would practically predict his own fate on the song, first shouting out his dead friend, allegedly killed by KB, before rapping how he might crash out and bounce out on Floyd, the street that his ops are from and very place he would indeed end up losing his life. People in the comments would react to the craziness of this premonition, commenting how he really did crash out on Floyd like he said in the song. People in the comments would also pay their respects to Eloo, saying that he stood on all the stuff that he rapped about and went out the same day as he dropped the song, rapping how he was living the same way. Some people commented it's crazy how many people died behind this song, as eventually the people close to KB from his hood's numerous alliances would decide to capitalize on this tragedy, making a disrespectful reply on the same beat as the BigBuckz Anthem, which would ultimately lead to another rapper losing his life far too young. As the gun smoke settled, those people who were happy to see Eloo gone would hop in the booth and take part in dissing him, most notably 3 rappers from different factions who would all join together in their hate towards the 6 Deuce Crips, making a song called 2K or Deuce Killer. This included Meesky Money, who was locked in with the 6 through the 064 Alliance, and the rapper Bookie Glocks, also known as BBG Tai Tai, from the BBG clique, whose member LB Slime had allegedly been killed by Eloo back in 2018, and they would be joined by the rapper Rayster from the Monster Gang clique, who have been close with BBG for quite a long time too. Bookie and BigBuckz Von from 26 Solway were actually friends turned enemies, with some comments on Reddit suggesting that he'd stolen a gun from Von's older brother, sparking the beef. Bookie was from 44 Lex, a set of GDs off Lexington and part of the 064 Alliance, and he had a fearsome reputation in the streets. For example, in 2021, a video would go viral allegedly showing Bookie himself spraying a house with bullets after he'd been finessed out of a pint of lean. There have also been rumours that he has at least 2 bodies, with a social media post from a friend claiming that he had gotten 2 birds with 1 stone, while the Reddit detectives quickly connected the dots, pointing fingers towards the tragic deaths of SGE Breezy and Tyler the Plug, while others would say that these 2 had been killed by the BBG affiliated Monster Gang clique. Still, people would note how Bookie had allegedly been dissing them immediately after their deaths, and he would also be joined by Meesky Money in mocking them both.
Antoine on the game. She's like, nah, you weird. Nah, you weird, cause I don't know whose side you was on. I thought you trying to back up me talking what's the word today. Girl, I'm out of town. What you trying to do? Get the drop on me? Let me see that, man. I gotta pull a Breezy, man. I gotta pull a Breezy on Breezy. I'm finna get off her. I gotta pull a Breezy on Breezy. I got 5%. And y'all know that. I swear to God, I hope that off his last cigarette before he died. He
probably like, Plug, you got it. Hold on, Plug.
Plug, you got it. You got it, Plug. You got it, Plug. Plug got his. Plug got his. Plug. Plug got his. Plug.
Come on, Plug.
He said like.
He probably like, stay focused. Come on, Plug.
Stay focused. Stay focused. Stay focused. Here we go. Stay focused. Wake up. Wake up.
Come on, Plug.
Wake up.
On my left side, I can't see.
On my left side. Straight up. I never had no problem with John. I just had a problem with Breezy and Tyler. Now they dead, so I don't got no beef with John.
Yeah, I'm going to post up on that.
Yeah, I'm finna go back and post up on John again, y'all.
The real don't vibe.
I'm back. Long little twine, you know what the f going on though.
Man, Breezy knew what the.
The rumour was that Buki wanted Tyler the Plug dead and didn't know Breezy was with him. Moreover, after allegedly lining up 3 friends' murders, he would inherit the title of the Backdoor King, which he seemingly owned proudly, stating in a stark YouTube interview with D-Nice TV that BBG stood for Backdoor Yo Gang.
For the people that don't know, man, because I know it's a lot of people that don't know, man. Can y'all tell them what them 3 letters stand for?
Boogie Baki. Bye-bye.
Boogie Baki, yeah, you heard me, man? Boogie Baki. Don't let Dougie man, don't let slide, don't let trip, you heard me? On everything. Trip, put the stamp on Boogie Baki game, you heard it all. Oh, shout out all that back up, man. You know what I'm saying?
Buki wasn't someone to be trifled with, and clearly his alliance with guys like Miski and Rayster all worked together as a strategic alliance and declaration of war against 26 Solway. The music video for the 2K song was released only a few months after Eloo's death, and it begins with them showing custom t-shirts of Eloo and Caleb, with the shirt of Eloo showing what appears to be a real photo of his lifeless body on the ground, with text saying "Get up Eloo with shot," while the other shirts showing a picture of Caleb together with the text "Last Goofy got his face took off." The music video would also end with them seemingly sending a voice message to BigBuckz member JB, further dissing Eloo.
I just want to tell you, your partner, you heard me? He's dead. Let's get up, we outside. Hold on, tell look. BigBuckz JB, man, you know what the going on? I'm steady calling. What he say? They hollering, they finna pull up.
Buki and Miski would also come out with a song titled Today, which would end up racking up over 300,000 views, with people in the comments quoting ad-libs from the song's intro and outro, where he says he's smoking on Eloo today. The song had disrespectful lyrics, with Miski dissing the BigBuckz, saying that he's making them move, and that dissing LB Slime is the reason their friend died. In the song, they would also say how they're smoking Rookie, Eloo, and Caleb, and how they're sliding in Solway looking for BigBuckz members Nick and Von, before ending the song dissing Solway and other 6 deuces, saying all dookies must die, and chanting Eloo's name.
Let's die, man. All dookies must die. Eloo. We got
All dookies must die.
But BigBuckz members weren't impressed by all the dissing, like the song 2K, and in an interview with Vicmon Films, BigBuckz Von would write the diss song off, saying his ops always copy everything they do, including their beats, and that they were scared of BigBuckz Eloo when he was alive.
But they my kids though. Like everything we do, they do. They remix all our beats, all that.
Yeah, like I heard the song like you and Eloo did. You feel me? Like R.I.P.
Yeah, man. It's gonna be the Eloo.
I asked him about that, you know, in the last interview. He said that they had that beat first.
Oh, they said they had what beat first?
That beat. Boom.
Oh my God. So
Big
if
Bucks,
they had the beat first,
BigBuckz
Anthem. So if they
that shit slap.
But I'm saying though, be 100 though. Do this make sense? How the f they had that beat first? If they copying everything we said.
I had a dream.
Yeah. Hear me all that gay. Watch my every move, bro.
After that, he commented on Buki aka Tyrone switching hoods numerous times, saying that he was part of Solway when they formed their set, then fell out, so they kicked him out the set, and that Buki switched from being a Blood to a Crip, then becoming a GD from the hood 44 Lex, before showing a picture of him when he was a Blood, but wearing Deuce colours.
Then moved on Solway. Look, we came up with the Solway hood thing, all of us did. He was like my brother, you know, I give it to him. I used to put this little thing, have his stealing for me, I swear to God. So boom. You know, we came up with that, you know, we fell out. Then it went from being a Blood from Solway to a Crip from Giant. When him and Breezy fell out, he went, man, that
went everywhere, bro. I done went every hood looking for this man, bro. I done been everybody.
I seen a
Now that GD from 44 Lex, bro. Come on, cuz. Yeah, he say you're GD now. He was just a blood wearing. Hold on, man. Let me put my wood down, cuz. On two crib. This was just a blood. Let me show you this. This just a blood wearing Deuce colors, cuz. You hear me, cuz? I don't understand you, bro. Like, come on, bro. You got to get your together, bro. Like, come on, man. He was a blood from Solway. And you hear me? We used to let him be from the soul. We kicked him off the soul while he lying, told he could still come. You know, you cannot come over there. You know you're not allowed over there. You hear me?
It's all very confusing, but this seems to be the way in the streets of St. Louis. So many small sets that are easy to switch up on, so it's no wonder that things get so treacherous and cutthroat in these disorganized streets. Meeski Money would also go at it with BigBuckz Trey on IG Live at the start of 2021, because Trey would be in the chat while Meeski and his friends were all dissing and waving their guns around and saying that they made diss songs about them, as well as dissing Eloo.
Nigga, you a weenie. Y'all some weenies. I don't want to argue. Dropping all them diss songs. You don't even know us. When you start beefing with the folk, cuz, let me know. Beefing with the sick. And when you tell me you don't want to argue doing all these songs, so all that lame. Right, Duke's ass. Get in the trench. Well, now they get on her buck and not or something, bro. That's it. All my kids, you get on her buck and not.
Eventually, Trey would join and immediately invited them to come to Solway for a shootout before beginning to compare guns.
Bro, come on the soul, bro. Y'all been live for like 30 minutes, bro. What type of time y'all be on,
been dead for hell.
What type of police shit y'all be on?
We can do what we want now. Hey, look, we can do what we want now. And your partner did. Come get your get back, cuz. Hey, XD. Damn on you, boy.
I gonna jam pull up.
We still got that dirty 30.
Pull up.
Still got that dirty 30. That's your man dirty 30.
Hey, can y'all pull up though, gang?
He missed it behind the location. Where you at? He missed to get. He missed to get stuck behind the steering wheel. Put it on Eloo.
I'm literally.
Hey, Eloo missed to get stuck behind the steering wheel.
Bro, can you just pull up, bro? You be on all comedians. Bro, y'all look ugly.
We just slid the train. All that. All that wolfing talk. I thought you was a thug. I thought you was a gangster. Four up and down, he on the soul. Straight weenie. He a weenie. Talking, I thought you was a thug.
Even after Trey left, Meeski and the crew continued dissing and waving their guns menacingly, as well as yelling at random fans that they would pull up to their locations.
RG Glocks, where you from? D-Bond, where y'all from? Tell me where y'all from. Tell me where y'all from so I can start going through there.
Fake page.
Tell me where y'all from, cuz. Tell me where y'all from. Put 41K and say I'm from over here. And on my mama, you gonna hear something today or tomorrow. On my mama. On my mama. Y'all gonna all that
put 41K. I want to
everybody who put 41K, put where y'all from. I can show y'all. And real STL News. And real STL News gonna be on y'all.
Man,
y'all can chunk that up. I'm a grown man. I ain't no little boy. I put that in my song. I'm a grown man. I ain't no little boy. Put 41DK. Put where you from. And on my mom, we gonna spin a band through y'all.
You a little boy.
I'm a grown man and you a little boy. I don't be on this. But put 41DK and put where you from. And we gonna spin it through your and ask your big homie. I don't give a about where nobody from. Put 41DK and put where you from. And here we come. Tonight or in the morning.
Soon after, Meeski's views from the Arch interview dropped, where he would begin by shouting out all of his affiliations.
Who is Meeski Money?
Young Rich, run old family place, old block, click with the folk, PDI, Murder Gang, Parkside, all that.
He would also demonstrate his elaborate gang handshakes with his fellow members.
This shit outside of, you know, people got family and shit like that.
Meeski would elaborate on the ties between him and Bookie Glocks and the Four, as well as shouting out the fallen members from the Sixx and the O.
Like, how did y'all come about start collabing together?
Who trying to be Glocks?
Yeah, you Glocks. They say the Four.
Real. Always been had ties though. That's why I've been trying to move though. We been had ties. Been like this. Just basically we just now letting
You know, and put it on the platform, 064 shit, you know. Big Quick with the 6 RP on with KB the 6 guy. You know, Big Quick with the 4 on LN. I'm on the top 4, that's been big, bro, you know.
Meeski would even explain why he goes live arguing with ops, saying that he goes live just to chill, but people be dissing him in the comments and make him black out and start beefs with people.
You going live a lot, man.
Oh, yeah.
Steady going at it on live.
It did to the point like, it be the point like, on me, it be the point to like, when I go live, you probably be thinking like, oh, he going live, he finna try to get on that just to, nah, sometimes I go on that chill, just like everybody else, you know. It's just a turn today because of rookie in the comments trying to diss or something. And I ain't spurring shit. Like Black Youngster say, I'm gonna squash no beat. Get on there. So that's how my lives be like that.
During one funny moment, the interviewer would warn Meeski about not broadcasting his criminal activities, to which Meeski would reply that all of his guns in his videos are props, followed by his friends throwing a giant bag of dope at him, before the whole squad would get on camera and make it clear that they're in the streets every day.
That's how it be. You gotta be careful with that. Players be on that on the internet. Real. Just have them, you know, put in a situation, talking too much in the heat of the moment. The mother know everybody on that screen recording all type of shit.
I'm on screen recording me. But hey, you hear me? All guns, videos, props, you know, we ain't about that. We broke over here. What? We don't know what's going on. We don't know what's going on.
You ain't outside for nothing, though.
But what else?
You ain't outside for nothing, though. You don't get a little song. You don't get a little song.
Not a bad
song, man. Y'all turned up over here, man.
Hey, bro, you gotta get us quick, we on some game. Every day, looking at capture.
Every day we outside riding. Y'all know, this tape, man. Y'all need to know. This top shot.
And of course, Meeski would also find time to diss Eloo.
Smoky as a motherfucker. Smell good. What you smoking on, man?
Eloo. Here. That's what we smoke on. That's strange. So here.
In a chilling moment, he would speak on a Facebook post he made about not seeing tomorrow, with Meeski eerily saying that he accepts the deadly outcomes that the street life brings, and shouted out Swag Huncho.
I see like the other day you made a post like on, I think it was on Facebook or something like that. You say, life you live, you might not see tomorrow. So obviously you know what come with it, what you doing.
Oh yeah, most definitely. You hear me? RP Swag, what he say, how the fuck you gangster and you scared to die? You're
oh yeah.
But hey, that's just a true little fact though. You might come with him, you know. I probably won't see tomorrow, but guess what though? We don't think about that. We keep going, we keep walking this path, you know.
Yeah.
Out here down for no reason. You
be dropping names. We ain't gonna get into that.
I ain't going nowhere, but hey, it'll be for a reason though.
In February 2021, Meeski would team up with Buki and Free Problems on a track titled BBG Problems, which had all three artists rapping melodically with auto-tune together with a really clean sample beat that made for one of the most commercially pleasing and versatile street songs to come out of St. Louis. The song didn't have as much dissing, but still racked up over 750,000 views. However, on the track 4-Man Drill, featuring Hothead Capone, Robo Murder, Meeski Money and Nudie Sixx, Meeski would get back to basics, as he claimed to have bodies, dissed Eloo, as did Capone, while Robo dissed Solway and all the other 6 Deuce Crips, calling them Dookies, and saying that he was smoking on Eloo. On Meeski's next track, White Paper, he would once again have some highly disrespectful bars, where not only did he say he was smoking on Eloo, but he said his mother's been encouraging him to slide on the ops with his laser-equipped rifle. As another sign of alliances between their hoods, Meeski would also collaborate with both Hothead Capone from 57 Floy and C4 Murder from Murderside on the song Warning Signs, where Meeski would claim to have bodies and take more shots at Solway and the 6 Deuces as a whole, as would C4 Murder, who rapped how his Glock 21 hits the Dookies hard, while Capone would shout out KB, saying how they're dissing him now that he's dead, but could never have messed with him when he was still alive. The dissing would also continue on social media, where Buki would ironically say that at least Von shoots back, unlike some of his other ops.
At least Von shoot back. Javion, they like to shoot back. I like it. They shoot back because we be doing that. Well, on Slime, on my Deadliest grave, Von ain't shoot back. You know what I'm saying? So, started running. I swear to God, ain't none of us never heard of me running. You hear me? Even Von, he talking about the head on a muffler. I grew my hair out for that exact reason. Like, oh, my mama asked Von how many cars he had to switch because of me. You know what I mean? Alright. You talking about running. I make your big homie run. What? Because I'm the big homie, you don't make me run.
He would also claim that he put people on in Solway first, and that's his hood.
I brung you. Your first time on Solway, who brung you over there? Me. Because it's my hood. Don't ever forget that in your life.
He would then warn his ops about women setting them up, and claim that while his ops are upstairs getting lucky, he's downstairs with a mask on and a strap.
And you know what's gonna be your downfall? These you think you be up there whole time downstairs like this. Come on, gang, mask up and get into that.
He would warn that his ops need to switch cars because he's seen what they're driving, revealing what cars he'd seen them in on live.
I'll be in the house, I ain't been outside all day. Get the out there, that Infiniti, that Nissan. Yeah, switch them cars, bro. Cause I'm on them. Now what? Switch them. You hear me? That Cherokee, that Challenger, switch them. Up in what? Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just like, what, bro? Like, I would be on around that dude out here. Like, I get dropped for real. Like, I don't want to be on, I get dropped for real, bro.
He also warned them that Miski is also on their ops for real.
That's for real, bro. Yeah, I know about Miski, bro. Like, we be on y'all for real, bro. Like, and on Slime, bro, we like be on they blocks for real, bro. Like, for real, bro. Like.
Meanwhile, the two main BigBuckz rappers, Trey and Von, would go on a run of their own following Eloo's death, dropping numerous music videos all gathering hundreds of thousands of views, while also continuing to diss the Sixx and their other ops. Like Trey's song Death Zone, where he raps how the ops can't come to Solway because it's a death zone, and saying the last person that made fun of Eloo got shot in the head. He would also make fun of KB6's death, while also dissing the 3 Problems rap group from the O. But Trey's most notable diss would be the song titled 064K, together with the rapper BDG, where they would take shots at the 064 Alliance. Trey would begin his verse by rapping how all these different factions are having to unite just to get back at the BigBuckz, but they're not going to stop dropping bodies until their ops give up. And then saying how he's smoking on KB and Swag and plans to slide down on Floyd just like Eloo did, while also saying RIP Eloo and that KB didn't even shoot him. 26 Solway would also form their own alliance with the Blood Hood from the west side of St. Louis known as 58 Pershing, aka 58 PSG, the alliance naturally going by the name 5826. But unfortunately the beef wouldn't just stay on music and social media, but would once again spill into the real streets. And in August 2022, the Sixx and their affiliates would experience another major loss, as on August the 7th, Miski Money, real name Michonne Hines, would be found shot with a single gunshot wound, slumped in the back of a vehicle on the 7200 block of Natural Bridge Road, while someone filming at the scene claimed that he had been backdoored.
Yeah, they just got backdoored, man. Crazy. He's still in this truck right here.
Images of Miski's funeral program would be shared on Reddit, and someone commented claiming to be one of his teachers, saying how Miski, or Michonne as they knew him, was a bright kid and a leader, but he simply had to grow up too fast due to the environment he was from. Others also pointed out that Miski's address was marked at the 1100 block of Grattan Street, which is actually right where the infamous Peabody projects are located, also known as the Jects, which is somewhat confusing given that Miski was apparently close to people like the rapper C4 Murder from Murderside, who've been in a bloody war with the Jects for practically decades, as we'll discuss later. The online detectives also shared rumours that Miski had been somewhere with his friends planning to get a haircut when the ops had seen them and opened fire, and Miski had gotten shot trying to protect a kid, as well as sharing reports that a man who was arrested after crashing a BMW was Miski's killer, with the comments pointing towards the LocHeadGang being behind the murder, this of course being the very same clique that Eloo had begun to claim after his cousin's death. Another commenter would identify a suspect as RGM Willie, aka One Tap from LocHeadGang, as well as from Bot Block, the clique started in honour of the late 48 Shreve rapper Curry B, who we'll talk about later. However, claims would later pop up online that Willie, aka One Tap, had in fact been caught with a switch after a car crash and is actually locked up for violating his probation, not the murder of Miski, while local St. Louis drill media would report that a major case squad had picked up the investigation, and other rumours would point out that Miski had allegedly snaked his own people and that the murder could well have been set up by his own friends. BigBuckz Von, on the other hand, would comment on the arrest of One Tap by saying it was fake news and that the man arrested indeed wasn't connected to the murder, saying that it was actually Bunu Murder who had simply run off on Miski when the shooting happened. Meanwhile, the day after Miski's death, his song Playball with SRT Camo would be released, and it still included him dissing Solway by calling them dookies. However, things weren't looking great for the BigBuckz crew either, and before they could make a major breakthrough with their music, legal troubles would continue to haunt the crew, with Trey spending the last few years cycling in and out of prison. And when he was free, despite the obvious heat surrounding the gang, Trey would still stay in the streets, and there would even be rumours at one point that he had shot Buki Glocks, while he could also be seen going on IG lives, toting guns, while allegedly searching for his ops from 064. Meanwhile, BigBuckz Von Von would reportedly catch a major case around 2022, which might have taken him out of the game for over a decade, although these claims are unconfirmed. In late 2022, Von would be seen in what was said to be his last IG Live before going to jail, where he would diss Meeski Money in a freestyle and speak on getting an Eloo B chain, saying that he's been shooting up his ops block and getting money.
My life with all that dissing, just like Lil Meeski, yo ass come up missing. I just caught a speed and shook that ass up in the trenches. I get on Eloo like Eloo wasn't no pushing. He would've jumped out the bushes. How about took your life? Look, I can't come up with, but this BB hella hard. All these gonna do, they go. That's a kid, man. That's straight a kid, man. Yeah, man. What's going on, man? Long live Eloo B, man. I'm getting the JD one next, man. That Eloo B be with me. I can smoke, snipe, get money. You hear me? This cool.
Von would get frustrated when comments said that his gang didn't kill Meeski, but they killed Eloo, insinuating that the friendly fire story was true. Von would clap back and say that it was LocHeadGang and that they're tied in, so it still counts, before backtracking and saying that he never said anyone did it.
They crack little Meeski. We tied in. Crack the dude, bro. I don't. That's a kid, man. I really don't give a fuck about him, gang. You hear me? All my ops is crunch, bro. I don't give a fuck about them, bro. Bro, y'all can really stop commenting, bro. Name on my, cause I ain't even know no troll, cause like. You hear me? No more. All my ops is crunch, bro. Them fake and I don't know, bro. Mentioning, hey, look, next, everybody that mentioned the ops on my life, I'm gonna start blocking y'all. I ain't gonna fake it, cause I ain't on all that, bro. I ain't on all that.
Trey, on the other hand, was locked up and released in 2023 when he would hop on Instagram Live to announce his return. Then in July 2023, Trey would release his song Free Von B, a tribute to his still incarcerated friend, where he would also drop disrespectful bars dissing Meeski Money and Hothead Capone. A little while later, Trey would be on Live and claim that he was smoking on Meeski and said that he was late to smoke him because he was in jail when he died.
This that wanky G, no, this that Meeski, man. I went out to smoke it, so I'm smoking it kinda late.
He would also go on a strange rant, first offering to sell followers guns, before backtracking and saying that he's no longer allowed to show guns or money in his videos.
Y'all try to buy a Glock for $650. That thing. I can't show no. Hey y'all, that's another thing y'all gonna peep, kid. That's another thing y'all gonna peep, cuz I ain't showing no more guns. No more guns in my videos. Or on Instagram. They be on my so you hear me? I ain't putting none of this shit. Y'all know we got really don't even want to put money in videos, cuz I don't even want to show money on the internet, cuz like they be on my cuz like they be on 2-6, they be on BigBuckz, cuz if anybody get booked in Jennings or something, they gon' ask y'all, do y'all know us or something? Ain't they, gang? Probably on. They gonna tell my PO I'm smoking. It's tobacco in here.
Unfortunately, most recently, Trey would seemingly end up catching a federal case, receiving a hefty 7-year sentence in January 2025. And sadly, the BigBuckz downfall didn't end there. In 2021, a video would go viral showing one of the BigBuckz members called Sixx, who had attempted to make his own way as a rapper, pleading for help outside someone's door after allegedly being shot.
Gang, I don't know. I don't know. Gang, come on. It's a cruise over here by me, gang. Please let me in, please. Somebody just shot me.
Their ops were quick to use this video to troll the BigBuckz, dropping a song and music video titled 5826K that started with that clip. The following year, one of their other main members, known as BigBuckz Nick, real name Nicholas Tate, was arrested and hailed in the media as a leader of the BigBuckz gang, which the police accused of being responsible for numerous car thefts and break-ins. This was followed in 2023 when more of their members would be caught on some serious gun and drug charges, which was followed later that year with even worse news as the BigBuckz member JB, who the ops would troll at the end of the 2K music video,
JB, man, you know what the f going on?
will be shot and killed while attempting to steal a car in St. Louis County, with the local news reporting how 19-year-old JB, real name Javion Bibi, was killed in self-defense during a robbery, with his accomplice getting charged with his death.
Around 12:30 Saturday morning, police were called here to Hot Shot Sports Bar and Grill on LocHead Station Road for a possible motor vehicle theft. When they arrived, a man says he was confronted by two people in black ski masks outside of his car. The man says he feared for his safety and pulled out his gun, shooting one of the two people, and that person died. The other ran away, but police caught them shortly after in Afton.
Police say 2 suspects involved in car break-ins and attempted thefts in Webster Groves are actually part of an organized car theft ring. Or officers say while those 2 were committing crimes outside the hot shots, a man shot and killed one of the suspects because they charged at him. The other suspect, 18-year-old Ronnie Jewett, was later arrested after fleeing the scene.
In a vigil for JB after his death, his friends and family could be seen releasing balloons and then firing their guns into the air. No surprise then that the BigBuckz would end up losing a lot of the momentum that they had built in the St. Louis rap scene. But similarly, the Sixx and their allies' problems would continue mounting. In December 2022, videos alleging to be Hothead Stomper's last IG live before the feds raided his home would circulate, showing him showing off a bunch of guns. This would be a cursed live where he would apparently brag about stealing guns.
Should I take the 10? Got buttons on that Glock. I stole Floyd's main piece.
Later, he would be charged in connection with over 9 burglaries, with court documents showing that Stomper, real name Xavion McGee, was connected to a string of smash-and-grab robberies at smoke shops and gas stations. Stomper would be caught by police after leading them on a high-speed chase, and he was later found with a whole bunch of drugs, guns, and cash that the FBI say came from criminal activities. In his earlier live, Stomper had shown off a huge wad of $100 bills.
Yeah, I'm not doing this about what? I don't do it. So look, I'm gonna take a picture right with like a stash of blues like this, like 2 days, like this big, all blues.
But despite showing off ill-gotten funds and guns, he claimed in the video that the police wanted him and his gang out the way for their crimes.
The police want me dead, boy, you crazy. They want me stopped, just like you said you run a crime party. If they was, I don't even play, bro, they don't even, this said I'm a paying informer, bro, they don't even like me or my gang. They want all us with death penalties. What's wrong with you? Bro, I'm tired of these, they just be talking, cuz. Man, he been showing me this same night since I've been out of jail, cuz. I done got locked up twice. No, I done got locked up once since I've been out. He showed me the same money, cuz you know how many nights I done ran through, dude? I show different roads every other day. That's how I know I got no money. But when it's 17 with the explosive bullets with this 100 and this switch smack your, you gonna know what's wrong with you.
Then in August 2024, according to the YouTube channel 100K Paralegal Services, a family party would turn into a shooting that ended up landing the Sixx rapper Hothead Capone in serious legal trouble. Capone had allegedly rolled up to the party with his 1-year-old child and got into it with another person called TY. And when TY said that they could throw hands, Capone just pulled out a strap and started shooting. His homies in the car would allegedly also begin blasting, hitting both TY and Capone himself in the chaos before fleeing the scene. To avoid the consequences of his actions, Capone would flee St. Louis in September 2024, going on the run from the law. But he wouldn't stay away for long, and just a month later, Capone would return to St. Louis attempting to film a music video when police closed in on him in the Carr Square neighborhood. What followed was pure chaos, with 4 associates all heavily armed, jumping into a Jeep and leading police on a high-speed chase before their tires got spiked and they bailed out on foot. While this was happening, Capone had ducked into a nearby apartment, but police tracked him down and found him crammed in a bathtub trying to hide. One article about the arrest actually labeled him as a documented gang recruiter, while social media posts said that he was the leader of a gang. Authorities would also confiscate 3 guns, including 2 assault rifles, arresting 5 people total, and slapping Capone with charges that could reportedly put him away for years. However, the roster of rappers from the Sixx is naturally much larger than Solway's, given that it consists of numerous hoods and newer generations of artists have kept their name on the map of the St. Louis drill scene, with perhaps the most known being ManMan Sixx, who represents everything dangerous about the new generation of STL gang members ready to crash out at a moment's notice. ManMan would gain attention across the city and beyond with his music that's racked up hundreds of thousands of views, and he has a wild reputation and has been in and out of prison a couple of times, like in August 2023 when he would hop on live right after getting out on unknown charges.
Hey, but he just got out of jail, bro. Go sit your little bad down, bro. But yo, ain't like you fresh out.
I am. I just left it.
He's faking you be in jail, cuz.
As the video shows, while ManMan's music is doing well, it's arguably his social media antics that have truly made him famous. In one live, he openly has an argument with Wanky D from LocHeadGang, saying how their gang never did anything to them and that they hang out with his friend's killer, and admitted to being shot in the leg, and saying that he can still walk and making fun of an op who died and was pushed out of a car.
LocHeadGang ain't never did shit to name one of us, cuz. Yeah. People's did something, y'all partner dead because of one of our people, man.
Yeah, like he not coming. And did the detectives find his flop yet? Like what the?
Oh.
Bro, we be chilling with his killer for real. You hear me?
Why Wanky on that?
Cause we be chilling with his killer, with his partner killer.
Valet gang. Lil Steve.
Bro, I did. I got shot in my thigh, guy. I think I can't walk, right?
But on my right soul, you walking on slap. They
Gang.
don't just let them talk.
Look,
gang.
now let me tell y'all something. If I get up and walk for y'all, what is they gonna do for me?
Nothing at all. Y'all is not that important for me to show y'all that they can walk.
I'm comfortable as hell right now. I'm not getting up, y'all silly. Bro, can Punch walk? Cause they pushed him out the car.
It was on backwards game like this.
Wow.
They pushed him out the window. It was backwards.
Come on, man, why you ain't dump the switch? I did dump the switch.
Hit the red thing.
Bro.
I ain't gonna fake it. I'm done trolling these. I'm finna start hitting they.
Yeah, man. This what they did, bro. The car was still moving and they pushed him out of it.
Mophie's sister trying to.
ManMan Sixx would seemingly diss hoods from all over St. Louis. In one live arguing with ops from the O, he would ask them to show some money and then saying that they're up bodies and that the O shot people who shot him.
I just ain't gotta show you shit. KO, so if you show me some money right now, you will never hear me diss the O or nothing on KD.
You ain't got gang. I don't care what you do, gang. You was gang. You got popped up, gang. You got popped up by some goofy ass. Them same that popped you up, gang. Give me us, gang, and we up on score. Hell, let's talk about it, gang. Bro. We up on scoring them, gang, and then pop y'all up.
Can you show me if that
right or wrong, man?
Wrong.
We up on scoring the same. Pop y'all up.
They didn't shoot me on KO, so they didn't shoot me. Now show me
KO, gang. Why you keep lying on KO, gang? Keep it a buck, man. Keep it a buck. Them same that you have pop y'all up. We up on them, right or wrong?
Do you have a quarter?
Gang. Them same that pop you up, gang. We up on scoring them, right or wrong?
Do you have 25
gang? You got popped up by some Lilos, gang. You got popped up by some Lilos, gang. Them that we up on score, they can't pop your.
Hey, look here.
Them and pop you up and we up on score. We got this mad gang, they can't pop you up. Cause we up on score, right or wrong?
Wrong. If I keep telling you they didn't shoot me, cuz what am I lying for? I'm not no lying gang.
ManMan Sixx was truly a loose cannon in the streets. One viral video circulated in May 2024 showing him pressuring an op while clutching a pistol with a drum magazine after apparently taking their gun.
Okay, that's right. You be trying to look like you know. You be trying to look. You know you don't be on there. Where your gun at now?
Yeah, I got out of school, gang. I just got out of school.
I can't sit come from school. I'm not playing. Okay, B.
You right, gang.
He said crack me when
bro, KO, boy.
He's gonna crack me.
Around the same time as this incident, ManMan would continue to go live beefing with even younger gang members than himself, being just 17 years old at this point, hopping on live with younger ops and saying that they're a waste of a kill and that he'll catch them and kill them outside of their school if they play with him.
He's a child. That is a waste of a kill, cause he's a kid. He a child. That little dude's a child. I could easily crack him. What was I gonna get any cool points out of killing him? No cool points out of killing this child. I had to let him know I would catch you coming from school and kill you. You won't be going, you won't be doing no more trolling. You will be dead.
He would go on to go back and forth, claiming to have jumped out the car and that he'd had one of them running, with the others saying that they punched him in the juvenile detention center, with ManMan claiming that he punished everyone who came to the jail and that everyone who came into the unit had to check in with him and were in fear of him.
Post, I jumped out the car, you ran for me, I was on live. He come on, still could have fought. I'm not fighting. I just got shot on KO. I'm not fighting nobody. I don't give a with nobody talking about. On KO, I don't get no step in there with me. On KO, every time come to the unit, they gotta come to my cell first, gang. They gotta come look at me and check in. On KD, I say no, keep him in here. Just running out the unit, bro. I can't be in here with him. He be dissing Eloo. He be dissing my people.
I wish I was your age.
I never been scared to fight, gang. On KB, I always threw my hand goofy and tell you I never ducked wreck from no on KB.
I wish I was your age. You know I would have been putting hands on you, right?
Later that month, he would join the Ops Live while filming a music video on Floyd, leading to an IG Live gun show, with them comparing weapons and acting so friendly that people in the comments couldn't believe that they were Ops.
Hey, we on Floyd.
Come on, bro. Why you already doing that, bro? Why you already doing that, bro? I'm too deep with 3E. I mean, I'm 3E.
ARPs, at least. Like the ski mask, you can't see my face, ain't by no ring, you say going purple, man. When I up this big 19.
All they heard that's what KB?
We on Floyd, gang.
Yeah, what KB?
You smoking Bob.
I'm smoking him too.
You smoke Bob?
I saw that long. Do it long.
Don't ain't that long, gang.
You need to get one of these.
Shano got one. Look.
40 stop might go 3 years. Break a bone.
This a blackout on KB. This Shano gun.
Woo! I need that from him.
But his most unhinged moment came in June 2024, when ManMan would end up beefing on social media with guys from a hood known as the Dub, as he would go live with them while walking through their hood and literally sharing their numbers and locations to arrange an instant shootout.
I'm walking through. Let's get out. Y'all riding through my take field trips. Real.
I walk there, good game.
Yeah.
You I'm
finna to right now. I'm right. Look.
Game.
Get in my wheel.
Let me see. Flip your camera. Flip your camera.
Come to me. Okay.
Why you not coming to me?
I am.
Okay.
Where you at?
You gonna come to me right now?
Okay, I'll show your live location. Me, I'm gonna be there in 5 minutes on my daddy. Okay, on it.
Hey, man, tell me your number right now. Truck okay, I seen as though you finna come.
Bro, you gonna see me before you hear me on TV.
Man, be quiet.
You gonna before you see me.
I'm sharing it for an hour.
Look, I'm in some hurt in the street.
Oh, he just shared his low. I just shared my low with you, gang. Hold on. Deliver, gang. You just got that. Come on. Drop your nuts. Drop your nuts. Drop your nuts.
I just got it on KB. I just got your
Drop your nuts.
Get off.
Somebody finna die today. Ooh, I like it. Get off my daddy. I'm out here right here. Somebody finna die. Drop your nuts. Somebody drop your nuts. I like this. Drop your nuts. I want to know. I want to show you how much of a I want to show you how much of a
walking through your
I just bought some weed.
I just bought some weed and some wolves in y'all store.
What role is y'all playing? Come to me, gang.
Don't pull that shit while I'm out here.
I'm about to tell. Come to me.
Y'all
on
that.
Oh my, bro. Naughty.
Okay, I'm not pulling no stun. I'm on live through y'all. Where y'all at?
Gang, you
y'all supposed to be pull up.
Yeah,
all right, then stop doing that. Shut
you
up talking
to me? Who would you talk to?
Can you come to me?
Can you come to me? I just tried my low. Come to me.
Get in the car on live, my boy. Stay on live. I'm not faking.
On my daddy, I'm finna stay on live. On my daddy, I'm finna stay on live and watch this man.
He did just go in y'all store. Ooh. Show me.
Hey, look, bro. Do all that in a minute. Do all that Instagram stuff. I really do be on it. Y'all piss me off. Y'all just piss me off. Work said.
Right, why? That's what I'm saying. Why you never play crazy with me or something, cuz?
Finna jump in the fence.
Hey.
Right here.
Man, on my mama, on Chris Soul, gang, stay out there for 15 minutes, gang. We on whole way, look, on live, I'm finna stay there. Whole way there. As soon as I get in the car, I'm gonna show you where I'm at and everything, gang. Just stay there, man.
15 minutes, 20.
Come on. Don't act like don't do that now, gang. No, don't do that. On Chris Soul, don't do that now, gang.
Come on.
Don't do that, man. Stay on this live, gang. We finna stay on live this whole time, gang. On Chris, man, just stay on live this whole time, gang.
Come on, KO, you on the way right now.
You gonna on me to die on my way right now.
Alright, let me see that fin. I'm gonna flip that over. Go ahead, come on.
Hey.
Come on.
Back in the car.
Come on.
Stay right there, man. On my mama, here we come. On my mama, on my daddy, on me to die, here we come, cuz. Don't move. Don't move. Don't move.
At some point, Hothead Capone would jump on the live, asking if they were really going to use their switches on camera.
They ain't seen no that stay magic. I'm finna show them, man.
You gonna hit the button on live?
Jumping out by myself, smacking his on Urban Soul. Got kill me right now.
Unsurprisingly, the whole thing would eventually escalate into actual gunfire that was also captured on live, as a member from the Dub would allegedly go to 57 Floyd's hood looking for trouble.
Slow for? Yeah, I'm finna flush on Urban. What they cruising so slow for? Gang, like drive like you want it, gang. Hey, gang, on my daddy, you better keep them pushing, gang. Drive like you want that motherfucker. I'ma flush that motherfucker, Irving. Drive like you want, gang. We in the middle of West Florida, so I'ma flush that. You better drive like you want it. Anything get hit, they get hit. I don't get no. Any quad field fishing, I'm flushing it. So niggas better act like they want they whips. That's the same challenger? Oh, say no more. Say no more. Oh, say no more. I see that. Whoever in that great challenger, I see it again on my daddy, I'm hitting the button. I see that great challenger again, I'm hitting the button. I see that great challenger again on my daddy, so I'm switching. So if whoever in that challenger, y'all better move around real quick. Whoever in that challenger, y'all better move around real quick. I'm gonna flush her. You better move around as fast as possible, Brody. You better move around as fast as possible, Brody.
He would later hop back on live to make sure that the police got the full memo of his actions, telling his audience how he had only 2 bullets left after dumping most of his clip with the switch.
Got 2 shells left, but my daddy heard that button. Shells, gang. Heard that this brr. Bet you won't troll now. Well, I'm still gonna troll. Is you cool?
Here go me.
Still gonna troll. Is you cool? I'm still gonna troll to this day. This brr.
However, ManMan's reckless streak couldn't last forever, and by July 2024, his luck ran out and he got allegedly swept up on what rumours say are a murder charge, with people on Reddit claiming that he had been dodging that same case for months and couldn't even go to the hospital after getting shot because he was on the run. But even in jail or juvie, the hotheads from the Sixx are still a problem, as this is a fierce crew applying pressure both on the streets and behind the prison wall. One member, Hothead Stepper, apparently attacked a jailer at the Justice Center or Justo and is currently serving 16 years in a dark case where a 9-year-old lost their life. However, with regards to ManMan's charges, it seems that at least for now, he's back outside, most recently dropping a hood vlog with TJ Films, where he would keep talking reckless, explaining how he had put someone's face in the toilet during his most recent bid behind bars.
Head up, I'ma stomp you out, who out the way, your hood. I'm like, alright, cool, I ain't finna go back for you a grown man, you wanna argue.
Oh, for real.
Okay, all my I'm so God strike me right now if I'm lying. I went there and beat the shit out of him, he hit me one time. Okay, so I bounced in there, squared up with him, hit him one time, he fell, put his face in the toilet. He fell and put his face in the toilet. Okay, so I got to stuff his head in the toilet. God kill me if I'm lying. Matter of fact, I'm finna call somebody who was in there with me, so you know I'm not faking game. Okay, so
ManMan is one of St. Louis's most promising new rappers, who could possibly make it big if he could just stay out of trouble and not get involved into any new beasts that could land him either dead or in jail. But he's certainly not the only St. Louis talent making waves in the St. Louis underground, because another young rapper who might just be the next big person to blow up big in St. Louis is Mo P, who just so happens to have a beef with ManMan, but beyond that, Mo P is truly a loose cannon, who's not afraid to talk about his life in the streets and beef with the entire city. Mo P is one of the hottest up-and-coming rappers in St. Louis, and he's been getting a significant buzz in recent years. He even caught himself a co-sign from the St. Louis rap queen Sexy Red, who was seen vibing to his music in 2024. With millions of views on his videos and a growing fan base across the city and beyond, Mo P's become one of the most promising voices to emerge out the city in the recent years of drill music taking over. But for all his musical success, just like the other rappers from the city, he has remained deeply embedded in the streets where he grew up, keeping a connection with the streets that's likely fueled his creative output, but also kept him dangerously close to the violent gang wars going on around him. Now, Mo P was raised in South St. Louis, specifically in a hood known as 27 Mac, which has a long history of gangs. Having become affiliated with the Rollin' 60s Crips already in the late 80s, this hood would adopt various names over the years, like AMG, aka Accomack Money Gang, or Accomack Murder Gang, based on the Accomack Street where they often hung out, and Blue Fox, based on the Fox Park neighborhood and park that they claim. Unfortunately, around 2016, when Mo P was just 12 years old, cancer took his grandmother's life, leaving Mo P essentially by himself, as he would later open up to Tommy G about during his visit to St. Louis in 2023.
Tell me about how you grew up. What was your childhood like? How'd you get to where you are now?
Regular childhood and some from St. Louis. I grew up with my granny for real on some little cool shit. She ended up passing away to cancer, and after that was by herself. That was at like 12 years old for real. So
you had no parents and no grandma from the time you were 12?
Yeah, for real.
A few years later, Mo P would begin his rap career when he was barely a teenager, rapping under the name J-Mo and releasing songs like the 2019 remix to King Von's Crazy Story, where he raps with 27 Mac member Bossman Corey. The track would end up gaining some significant attention in St. Louis and online due to their very young ages and skilled rapping abilities. And while he would keep releasing music, it would take a few more years and a name change for his music career to truly begin to gain momentum. Meanwhile, despite losing his grandmother, Mo P would manage to hold on to one promise that he had made to her and graduate high school in 2022.
My mama, she ran somewhere.
Yeah. But I was watching the interview you did, And then you speaking about graduating from high school.
My mom.
Yeah. Now, what that was this recently, didn't you? You say you 18?
Yeah, no, I just graduated in 2022. My mom, June 5th.
Graduated from Hazelwood West?
My mom.
Around the same time, a chance encounter would change his trajectory when people close to Mo P were scheduled to shoot a video with Nick O'Neill, a known videographer in St. Louis who had a series known as Drop That Stuff, which gave up-and-coming artists a chance to perform a cappella freestyles for his popular YouTube channel. So when Mo P showed up to support his people at the video shoot, they convinced Nico to shoot a quick video for Mo P as well, whose rapping skills impressed him. And Nico would end up also filming the next installment of the series with Mo P, and this was followed in December 2022 with Mo P's breakthrough hit Part 2, which now has over 2.6 million views. However, while during the Drop That Stuff freestyles, Mo P had still seemingly been repping his original hood, AMG.
Alright, let them know who we in here with. Mo P on this, AMG on this, SG in here with me on my soul. No going on real deal on my mama. Cut on my soul. AMG in this.
But around this time, his relationship with that crew had seemingly begun to deteriorate, with online rumors later suggesting that Mo P had apparently run away during a gunfight, leading to his gun being taken away specifically by Bossman Corey, the rapper who he'd originally collaborated with under the name J-Mo. A video would later surface online of Mo P being reprimanded by one of his big homies for allegedly going out on a mission and coming back without his gun.
All of these fairy tales, you playing Grand Theft Auto, it's real life. You went on a mission, going banking, and then you went on a mission and you didn't come back with no gun or none of that. You down there lost your life.
Mo P himself would comment on the video, claiming it was not that serious, just his big brothers trying to mold him.
I don't really get bro. Repost the video, bro. Do y'all thing, bro. I'm not here for the video or clear up anything about the video. I'm here to clear up trolling behind the video. Don't troll me like got video robbed. Like, if you got a video of getting robbed, don't troll me, bro. You have a video of guns in your face and you taking your properties out of your pocket and giving it to another human. Nah, bro. I ain't never went through. You can't, bro. This real, bro. Every time it's some old ass video, it always got something to do with my blood big brother and them or something. Like, y'all always want to bring up my big brother and them. Like, y'all hella lame. Like that, I hate that. Every time I show something, it always got to be my big brother trying to mold me. I hate that. Y'all don't showing y'all mamas beat y'all and get on y'all. So what y'all trolling about, like, lame, cuz?
But whatever the truth, Mo P would seemingly leave his original hood behind and become what some people would call a hood hopper, no longer repping his original hood. Instead, he would seemingly become affiliated with several crews on the north and west side, including 48 Shreve, which is also known by names like 48 Ando, based on Anderson Avenue, which is another one of the streets they rep besides Shreve Ave. This Roland 60s hood has become considered one of the most hated hoods in the city of St. Louis, becoming rivals with numerous other hoods that you would have already become familiar with if you were watching this full video, such as the O, aka O Block, or 1600 Ops, located near downtown, named after the O'Fallon Street and the former O'Fallon Place apartments. The Sixx, that alliance of several hoods, like 57 Floyd, that are located in St. Louis's 6th Police District around Walnut Park West neighborhood. They also beef with 62 Stillwell on the west side, Dub 19, aka the Crocs, or 20 Gang on the north side, that name coming from the 20th Street that goes through this entire area, and 1100 Murder Side, located in and around the LaSalle Park apartments near downtown, as well as many other rivals. Mo P would also begin to rep the 55 Dipset, or the Dip, known as Scully Gang, a hood with ties to the legendary Horseshoe Posse, a notorious location where he would also meet Tommy G in 2023.
This is a real spitter. You want a bar spitter that goes bar for bar, every single song he makes. This is the guy. Tell the people where we are right now.
Right now, we really in the middle of the Horseshoe, aka the Dipset, for real, 5500, for real. We got some coming down, goddamn me.
It feels slightly sketchy, like it feels like things could pop off at any moment in a place
That's
like
St. Louis for you. I ain't gonna fake a real deal. Everybody trying to be a tap.
Mo P would have a particularly close friendship with another youngster called Trello, better known as the rapper Curry B, or Curry Bop, who was also repping 48 Shreve, whilst also belonging to a clique known as Cam Gang, named after a 15-year-old youngster named Cameron Jackson, who was killed all the way back in 2019 in a shooting that would also injure another 16-year-old boy, and where a man and woman were later charged with tampering with physical evidence in felony prosecution. Mo P and Curry B had come to know each other well when they were both enrolled at Hazelwood West High School, meeting by chance while Mo P was moving around North St. Louis.
And with JD said whatever, I ended up going to jail, and I got home to my big cousin trading. So I come, cause you know you gotta have somewhere to go and I get home and train them like, man, we finna go to discount on North Hanley and Lindsay. Goddamn, if you know where they say, goddamn me. So we hitting the gate. Let's pass the fact. All right, we hit the little gates. I'm walking down the street. I see this little dude on his porch straight smoking on a hoverboard, bro.
At this point, Mo P had already heard about Curry, while Curry had also heard Mo P's music.
Mind you, y'all, before all this game, all I keep hearing is Micro Drake, Eloo B. First time ever me and Curry B, no cap, bro. He riding the hoverboard up and down the thing. He say, what's up? Ain't you dude J-Mo who created Suicide? That's what I always used to get. He not on no over fanned out, none of that. He on some real life, real gangster.
But the friendship between Mo P and Curry B ran deeper than music, as Curry was known as a notorious shooter in the streets, who allegedly had up to 3 bodies in the streets, which may have been why they called him Curry. And so, as Mo P would later recount, together they would allegedly end up shooting a lot more than just music videos.
I have witnessed him drop 60 pack, 100, like real, and don't still feel safe. I heard never speak of Curry thy. This that's my tap, my bot. Faking. Never seen their partners, never witnessed their partners do anything. So if I label him a tap, real.
Mo P would also talk about his times going on high-speed chases with Curry and his other friend known as Micro Drake.
Then my truck's trying to close us off. They done already threw the spikes 2-3 times. You know how to play it. Get a look close up on them.
the highway?
Get out. Get a look close up on them. Get out. Get a look close up on them. Get out. Man, we killed them. We had it. They was on the overpass, on the highway, like, it's the highway, but it's another highway that's on top of us. They got that highway stopped. They on some GTA, got 2 cars like this, they in front of them with the flashlights trying to put it in the whip. Listen though, we killed them. Dang, why they spike us from the other side of the highway? Bro, I jumped the barbed wire gate and fell and lost everything, lost energy, everything, gun, everything hit the floor. He straight picked me up by my shirt and dragged me through the woods, gang. I ain't go through the woods, gang. He dragged me through the woods, gang. He had me, gang, on some straight movie. This was some straight movie, like, slept there, woke up, and then, like, I ain't trying to say too much on the live, bro, because they straight start piecing stuff together, but just know, I straight got home, bro, and went to Curry house. No bet. I swear to God on my granny soul.
There would even later be allegations that Curry might have been behind the murder of rapper Meeski Money from the O, who was found gunned down in a vehicle on the 7200 block of Natural Bridge Road in August 2022. However, as mentioned earlier in the video, another person of interest in Meeski Money's murder would be captured only a few days later in a car connected to the murder. But whether Curry had actually killed people or not, it was clear that he was moving in a way that made him a target in the city, and the first attempt on his life would come only a few months after Meeski Money's death. On the night of October the 31st, 2022, Curry B was partying at Club Visions, celebrating Halloween with his cousin PJ and their homie Justo. PJ and Justo were also both members of the Cam Gang, and PJ was an aspiring rapper, making music under the artist name Cam Gang P, and had released a scathing diss track towards their ops earlier that year in April. It should have been just another night out, but in St. Louis, even a casual night of partying can turn deadly in an instant. At around 1:20 AM, a fight broke out inside the club, and it would quickly spill outside into the parking lot where it exploded into a full-on shootout. When the gunfire stopped, PJ was dead and Justo was badly injured and later ended up passing away in hospital too. PJ's murder would later be covered in the Belleville News Democrat paper, where his mother would deny him being involved in gangs, but did say her son was targeted and that people knew his car. News of PJ's death would also spread through the St. Louis drill communities, where people would comment the rumor that switches were used in the hit, while fans would later comment how sad of a loss this was, explaining how it was convincing Redditors to want to get out of the streets. Some fans also made compilations saying that they were just 14 when they heard about PJ's death and it really affected them. Even Mo3's old friend Bossman Corey from 27 Mac would honor PJ but still diss the other members. Curry B would also receive gunshot wounds in the chaos, but unlike his cousin and his friend, he would survive and was actually captured on video at the scene crying out desperately for people to save his life. This footage would later become ammunition for online trolling against him, but instead of breaking him, it would seemingly transform Curry into an even bigger menace. And after recovering from his injuries, Curry would jump on IG Live with Mo P and threaten his ops, saying that the only reason he'd been crying for help was so that he could stay alive and get back at them.
Right there too, it hit different, gang. When you don't want to die, so you can get on the game. I hate when motherfuckers play me like I'm gang. I straight would drop my low and straight shoot at any this Bible got something against me, gang. I ain't gonna lie. I'm not no gang. Y'all don't know me, gang.
Meanwhile, Redditors would share information about the hit, with one comment breaking down the sequence of events, saying that the three of them spotted members from rival gang SMB and got into an argument and a shootout. Theories would go around about who had been the shooters, with online detectives mentioning names like Lil Active from OTW 6200, aka 62 Stillwell, and Myron Lose from 74 Myron, while others claimed a member from 62 Stillwell called Lil Z was responsible, with Hothead Capone allegedly even confessing that Lil Z indeed killed Justo and PJ, while Lil Z himself would post the article about PJ's mother, even underlining a quote from the article saying how the victim's mother wants to know who killed her son. 62 Stillwell is a blood hood in the northwest section of St. Louis, and it's located near the hood of 48 Shreve, as well as the hood called 45 Ferris, where 30 Deep Grimeyy is from. And Stillwell is perhaps best known outside of St. Louis for being notoriously dissed by Grimeyy in his music video for the song Dead Goofies, while Grimeyy can be seen holding their street sign while pointing a gun at it. But whoever was behind the gruesome double murder, it seemed to flip a switch inside of Curry, and instead of simply putting his pain and anger back into the streets, he would find a more productive outlet and begin to record a bunch of music. In May 2023, Mo P and Curry B, together with two other rappers affiliated with 48 Shreve, SMT C Money, and AMG QP, will drop a song titled 40 OS, which now sits at over 1 million views. Their clique was calling themselves the Tappers, and whatever tapping they might have been doing in the streets, Mo P and Curry B were getting known as a deadly duo on the microphone too, and they would keep outputting music together, with Curry in particular also recording numerous highly disrespectful diss songs towards their many ops, with one song even seemingly being a dedicated diss to Meeski Money. He would also drop lyrics saying that he had killed people and had hats, and how he went on drills with his friend Rambo, another aspiring rapper from his hood. But Curry was also still staying active in the streets, often showing himself sliding dressed in all black while toting big guns.
I don't be for laying self hate them scared of us. Mondo hit his brain out, got seen still ain't touch me. They know that ugly duck gave it up. Yellow one is give back, guess he back, cause they done cracked his brother. Be shy, he used to be exact. All he do was look. That's what she in that bitch with rack. I hit his head on aim that back. Got his market tap. The real leg end up get back. You know I don't with the tap. Straight up. He turned.
Curry and Mo P would also keep beefing with their ops on social media, with one viral clip showing their op coming to their hood and shooting the gun in the air, saying how he was using their hood as a testing ground.
But too fully. Is that dude who got his dad drop people? Hey, hold on, J-Mo. Swear to God. Hold on. We test our guns. We test our guns, y'all. Remember, did y'all just shoot in the earth? Y'all test our guns, in the earth. Test our guns, y'all. Y'all shot the guns in the earth.
Then in October 2023, before Curry would even get to drop a single full-length project, it was all over, as he would be found dead in an alley on the 3400 block of Osage Street in the Dutchtown neighborhood. A single gunshot wound to the head would end his life, and quickly word of his death would break on the St. Louis subreddits, as the internet would begin dissecting the evidence, trying to work out who pulled the trigger, with some street rumors pointing to members of the O, who would openly post themselves playing Curry B's own music after he lost his life. Rumors would also connect Meeski Money's brother, called Yellow Tape, to Curry's murder, with claims online that he was an alleged shooter with as many as 8 bodies, with his high body count, according to the wildest rumors, being the result of him actually working as a paid hitman, while others said he was active in the gang since 14 years old and definitely has over 4 confirmed bodies, and with rumors also claiming that Curry B might have been the trigger man on the Meeski Money hit, or at least having dissed him brutally after his death, all pointed to his brother Yellow Tape having an extremely personal motive for arranging the murder, with one Reddit post claiming that Curry had put a death sentence on himself when he dissed Meeski. Another Reddit post would claim that Curry had killed another guy called Veto, whose real name was Victor Williams. However, Veto actually died under mysterious circumstances back in 2020, as he was found dead together with 27-year-old Lyft driver Andrew Amir. Amir's murder would later lead to a landmark victory in a case concerning the safety of rideshare drivers, with the news reports also mentioning the names of 2 teenagers who had attempted to rob him in the lead up to his murder. And while these reports don't mention what happened to Veto, Reddit rumors claim that he indeed did die while also participating in the robbery, although these claims are not verified. However, the same Redditor would claim that Curry did admit that members of 48 Shreve were behind several other murders of members from different hoods that he had dissed with very specific lyrics in his songs, giving possible motives to many different hoods to take him out. Others would also post tribute to the trio, Justo, PJ, and Curry, who had now all lost their lives, with one of the pictures showing all 3 of them cracking 4s, which is a diss towards the many different hoods who rep the number 4. Meanwhile, Curry's friends would pay their respects to him by releasing his posthumous music video with the rapper Rambo, titled Breaking Me Down, which ends with a fitting tribute to Curry, with all of his friends rapping along while showing their guns to the camera. But they weren't just planning on waving the guns around for the camera, as after Curry's death, they would form a clique known as Bop Block in his honor, which would also become known as BPG, or the Back Pocket Gang, a crew dedicated to making sure that Curry B's killers felt their pain. And already on the same month, on October the 24th, 2023, the retaliation would allegedly begin. That afternoon, just after 3 p.m, 20-year-old Callie Fours, real name Calvin Kelly, was on the 4200 block of Shreve Avenue when an altercation would take place. He would be shot in the head just blocks from his own home. Callie would be rushed to the hospital, clinging to his life for 5 hours before tragically succumbing to his injuries. The shooter would later be identified as a 17-year-old member of 48 Shreve named Tabari Freeman, known on the streets by the bizarre nickname Turkey Butt, or TB for short, a nickname that seems almost comical at first without context, but becomes a lot more ominous when you learn that a turkey butt is actually a nickname for a switch, the illegal device that turns a regular Glock into a fully automatic machine gun. And if there was one thing that TB loved more than anything, it was apparently switches. He'd even dropped a song called Switch Everyone, rapping about exactly what he had planned to do with his favorite toy, and unfortunately for Callie, it was the very same device that would end up taking his life. As the rumors go, Callie had been out borrowing money from the rapper C-Money, not realizing that his hood the Four, aka Fourside, had been dissing Curry B, and when he arrived to meet him at their local store called Sam's, TB shot him in the face with a switch. However, another post would claim that TB actually saw Callie trolling Curry B at Sam's, pulling up immediately, at which point Callie opened fire first, and TB shot back in self-defense. C-Money would later diss Callie, rapping how he thought TB was just playing, but instead, he caught a bullet to the eye. TB was arrested and held in juvenile detention for the murder, and he would later jump on Instagram Live with Mo P to diss their ops from behind bars, calling them fake and claiming they'd never actually done anything real in the streets.
Try what else? If you never, I swear to God, you never dropped a lower. You never asked to bump or nothing. How I'ma try something out and you never explain it. It was fake. Look at your fake on. I hate that fake. You just want to be the next talk about. They fake. Never been on. None of y'all been trying to shoot y'all guns. This thing, bro. You ain't never dropped your law on no fake.
You don't be on. Can't entertain it. You know what I'm saying? Them bro don't got no paper. Them niggas don't got no heads. They partners be dying. We be the niggas pushing on them switches and drakes. You know what I'm talking about? Them bro, I don't even know how you entertain they.
But then, on February the 3rd, 2024, TB would somehow manage to escape from the juvenile detention facility located on Enright Avenue.
It's been more than 24 hours since the teens escaped from the juvenile detention center on Enright, and authorities still have not released his name to the public.
The 17-year-old arrested for Kelly's murder has been held at the juvenile detention center since December 8th. A statement from the 22nd Judicial Circuit said police and court staff are reviewing how he escaped. Surveillance footage showed he rolled under a security gate in the parking garage.
For nearly a month, St. Louis had an escaped killer moving through its streets, but then on February the 27th, that manhunt would come to an end as TB was recaptured and returned to custody. And while he sat behind bars, Mo P took to Instagram with a heartfelt tribute about missing the time that they had spent together on the St. Louis streets, sliding and chasing their ops down, while telling that TB was actually his inspiration to keep rapping and that he could call him anytime. And in no time, he would be back out on the streets doing what he loved most, snatching souls. By April, TB would be slammed with adult charges for second-degree murder, first-degree assault, and 2 counts of armed criminal action. But by a miracle, he would later walk away with just a 3-year sentence after pleading guilty to second-degree involuntary manslaughter in March 2025, with some saying that he had a solid self-defense case based on a version of events where Callie had been the first to shoot and that he would have gotten time served if he hadn't escaped custody. Callie's family watched the plea deal unfold and would express their dissatisfaction with the 3-year sentence, feeling that justice had failed them and their son. Meanwhile, the aftermath of Curry B's murder was far from over, and 2024 would see the consequences of this hit playing out in the streets and the music more and more. In April, Mo P dropped a track called EBK, a tribute to his fallen homies like Curry B, PJ, and Justo, while also being a savage diss to all of the rival hoods that they were beefing with, true to the meaning of the title EBK, or Everybody Killer. Members of 57 Floyd from the Sixx would respond to this video with a video of their own, not just dissing PJ, Justo, and Curry, but also printing Curry B's face on a t-shirt just to burn it on camera. In this same song titled World War III, they would also take part in not just dissing Curry, but also PJ and Justo, with Hothead Capone actually rapping that he's posted with the killer of PJ and appears to take full responsibility for his gang killing Justo and PJ. Nudie Sixx would continue the dissing, also saying how he's smoking with PJ's killer and how Curry got hit with a switch, so no wonder he was screaming when he first got hit, as well as saying how he's now smoking him and saying his name because he knows how mad it makes Curry's friends. But of course, the beef wouldn't just stay online, as there were also allegedly several shooting incidents between Mo P's crew and the Sixx, with the rapper ManMan Sixx allegedly getting shot in the leg in his own hood after first lurking through 48 Shreve's hood himself.
Y'all see where the at? See where the OP at?
It is not no 3 in the morning. It's not 3 in the morning. It's 9 o'clock. Nobody at the Sam's, gang. On Anderson. Alright.
Some people on Reddit would be confused by this, asking why Shreve was sliding on the Sixx and not the O, who they considered to be behind the murder of Curry, while others would respond that they were likely also sliding on the O, but they just weren't broadcasting that on the internet. Around this time, a new alliance would also be formed, as 48 Shreve, aka Ando, would link up with the 14 Jects, aka Tiger Town, bloodhood located in the Peabody Projects near downtown St. Louis, this alliance going by the name 1448.
He got this backpack. You know, hey, what the f going on? Why do they got more P in the Jets, man? We too tight.
To the Jets, and this where all the parties is.
Yeah. So you better blow that boy.
Then in June 2024, another name would be added to St. Louis's growing list of young casualties. This time, it was Spinner K, real name Caryon Harmon, a rapper from a clique known as 200 MBG, who were affiliated with the Sixx and had been dissing Mo P and 48 Shreve for months. This beef had gotten particularly personal when Spinner K had posted a photo of Curry B's lifeless body online, mocking his death. On the evening of June the 5th, 2024, Spinner K was caught in a double shooting along Interstate 70 while he was driving with a 21-year-old woman.
Louis police are searching for clues in a deadly shooting. Police say 2 people who have been shot managed to get to SLU Hospital, but right now officers are trying to figure out just exactly where the shooting happened. Police say a man was killed and a woman was injured. The woman is listed in stable condition.
The shooter fired 9 bullets across the highway, with Spinner K taking a fatal shot to the head and the woman suffering a graze wound to her head. Both wounded victims would arrive at the hospital, and while the woman would be later listed in a stable condition, Spinner K wouldn't be so lucky and he would pass away. According to one rumor, he had been set up by a girl who had given up his location to a member affiliated with 1448, who had then caught Spinner on the highway with other members and taken his life, with the murder allegedly taking place soon after the 1448 alliance had started. The Reddit detectives would even point out specific names, including members from Mo P's Back Pocket clique and their affiliates, while others would create intricate theories about how a member of the 14 Jects had perhaps gotten the location from the girl and then gave it to the Back Pocket clique members as an act of loyalty towards their new alliance. Whatever the truth may be, 1448 members would later drop a song seemingly claiming responsibility for killing not just Spinner K, but also several other ops. Mo P, on the other hand, would waste no time jumping on Instagram and mocking Spinner K for dissing Curry B before meeting his own demise. But while Mo P was quick to troll his ops, he would also be trolled back, as he would become known for talking crazy during his Instagram lives, giving plenty of ammo for both his ops and his online trolls.
And Brisky, you on her? On my soul. Yeah. We really in here with killers, cuz. Y'all know what the we really be on, bruh. Look. Stop playing with us like we don't really
And Mo P on her? I'm in a room with killers.
Meanwhile, in the aftermath of Spinner K's murder, a bunch of 1448 block parties would allegedly get shot up in retaliation, with C4 Murder, a rapper from the 1100 murder side, even bragging about shooting up one of the parties solo by himself.
I just burnt downtown up, gang on John. C4 John Wick is my son, solo dolo. Faking 1448K on my.
Mo P, on the other hand, would film himself on the murder side block.
These eyes, these wolfing. At least we ain't for real. 1448. 1448. Yeah. If I ain't reach you, you gon' die. This. Y'all seen them?
As time passed, it seemed that Mo P was slowly getting consumed by all of the beefs that he had started around the city, engaging in out-of-control online back and forths with his ops on a regular basis.
Don't none of y'all want to kill nobody, though. What's up?
Who dead?
What happened?
Who dead?
Man, I'm trying to kill somebody. Drop your mama low. On my granny, so I straight pull up on live. On my
Okay,
mama,
I'm coming through there.
Go back live for me.
What happened?
I can't go live, bro.
I'm coming through there.
Drop his mama low,
Listen.
and we gonna all pull up to you. Gonna go back live right now on my granny.
He got shot with one of these. On one of these. On one of them.
I got hell
Hey, stop saying today, man. I'm trying to crash on live. I'm trying to crash on live, bro. Stop playing with me, bro.
Let me know when you outside.
Then yo get out live talking about all them guns, and we all the same guns. Get your ass on.
Let me know
on green. On green. I'm the who sent you to the spittle on green. I ain't finna argue with you, gang. You lucky you ain't dead. On bro. Not on soft.
Not
never
on
call no
bro.
on bro grade. You never
really in
You
St.
cried.
Louis.
When your
and you
partner
not
died,
here?
you cried. When your partner died, you cried. Shut Lil M gang extinct. Nobody I pay you real. I pay you real.
In September 2024, it was 20 Gang who decided to apply pressure, as their rappers Loso Dub, Smokey Dub, BN1N9, and Mega G would release a dedicated diss track towards 1448 titled 1448K or 1448 Killer, while Mo P and other 1448 rappers would seemingly respond back a few months later with their song titled simply 1448. But out of all the beefs that Mo P was getting wrapped up in, perhaps the most unfortunate was his beef with the YouTuber Nico Nell Media, who would go public with claims that Mo P had basically played him by signing to a label and selling away his catalogue, after Nico had worked so hard to help launch Mo P's career without getting much out of it in return.
The drop, I heard it. It was fire. $100. I'm holding the drop. I'ma let it go. So I let the drop go. I let it go. He turns up. He turns up on my acapella series. Fresh paid for the videos his sons was in. Fresh didn't pay for Mo P individual videos. Mo P got a full video catalog that nothing paid for but back ends. And stop saying I got just back ends, you stupid who don't know $1 about YouTube, $1 about Spotify, $1 about. If I was out here winning royalties, I wouldn't be driving no old ass Altima. Let's get the out of here. I ain't winning off. So let me tell you how that works. You sell the music to the label, now they get the money. Nico don't get the YouTube, Nico don't get the Spotify, Nico don't get, he don't recoup. It's videos I paid for Mo P. He got directors sitting in the cut. I'm not gonna recoup from. His managers, them ain't come and throw me no paper, even though they said they would. So be solid. It's about being a solid. It's about knowing that albino that met you in the alley, that put his heart behind you, girl, that argued with his girl about putting you on cell phone bills when you didn't want to stay with Fresh, that had his son room getting cleaned out for you, that felt bad to ever send you back over there, and you gonna play with me? Don't play with me. Ain't none of y'all playing with me no more. On my son, I'm standing up for myself, because the city full of fake ass, and now the real top. How you like it, motherfucker? And I speak my own truth. The live over.
In interviews, Nico would explain the matter further, telling how it had been him that had gotten Mo P the appearance in the Tommy G video, which now has over 12 million views.
They ain't gonna tell you what I did when they was hungry and they was scrambling. And I was scrambling too, gang. Maxing out them cars, doing for their careers, giving catalogs, putting them in front of Tommy G. Hold on, Wick, I ain't gonna put it on the cam, but you know, who just called me the other night, gang? Just checking on me. Wellness checks. These I know these wicked. You see what I'm saying? I think Nico do. What that say, Wicked? What that name is? That's Tommy G, man. He ain't know you. Fat Vanessa. Mo P, clear the street. Spitting all over. He ain't know you, boy. He knew me. Stop playing with me, boy. I gave you that career.
It's unfortunately not uncommon for artists to forget the people who were there with them in the beginning when they had nothing. But when you come from somewhere as treacherous as the streets of St. Louis, maybe it feels like you have to be a little grimy to survive and get the resources you need. For now, despite the chaos and violence constantly surrounding him, Mo P's music career has kept climbing, his videos racking up hundreds of thousands of views, while his steady stream of releases has continued to pull in tens of thousands of monthly listeners on streaming platforms, while also still paying tribute to Curry B, constantly playing his music under old videos of them smoking and toting guns, and even teasing new music with him, like the song Uber Boy Part 2, a sequel to their earlier popular song. But unfortunately for Mo P, he's not the only one getting some motion, as over in the rival hood of Murderside, one of Mo P's biggest ops is making a name for himself, both in the music and in the streets. So next, we'll take a closer look at one of the oldest gang wars in the St. Louis underworld that's still going on. This is the war between 1100 Murderside and the 14 Jects. It's the 4th of July in St. Louis in 2017, and while most of America is celebrating with fireworks and barbecues, the Peabody projects in St. Louis are about to witness a different kind of explosion. At around 11:30 p.m, gunshots rang out on the 1400 block of Keelty Lane, right in the heart of the projects, and as police would arrive on the scene moments later, they would find 29-year-old Tiger, real name Brian Mitchell, with a gunshot wound to his abdomen. He was later rushed to the hospital, where he would tragically succumb to his injuries, and in the aftermath of his death, the Jects would take on the name Tiger Town in his honor, a name that the hood is still known by. Tiger's death was a significant loss for his hood, which is why he would become so memorialized. But unfortunately, in the grand scheme of things, it was just one victim in a decades-long war between two hoods, which is one of the most infamous in the city's history. This is the war between two hoods, the first one being the 14 Jects, aka the Jects or Projects, located in the Clinton Peabody projects in the neighboring houses, who identify with the number 14, which comes from the 14th Street that cuts through their hood, as well as the 1400 block where the projects are located. This hood has also been known as 1400 Brick City, this name logically coming from from the red bricks that the projects were made of, with members still repping this name proudly on t-shirts. The second hood is located right across Old Route 66, this being the 1100 murder side, aka the Murders, or New Houses, the 9 Deuce Bloods, who particularly rep the intersection of the 11th Street and Hickory Street in the LaSalle Park neighborhood, where the LaSalle Park Apartments projects is located, as shown by the rapper C4 Murder in his vlog with TJ Films.
Explain where we at though, where we at right here?
Right here in the murder side.
Murder side. Murder side. This the county or the city?
This the city. We downtown St. Louis.
So we downtown
on south side, basically. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
So this downtown, like, also like it's like on the borderline.
Yeah, like you right in the middle, near the bridge.
So who all around her? What all the hoods? What's surrounding y'all?
Projects, shit, across the street.
The projects.
People on Reddit are particularly interested in this conflict, with posts commonly asking about the current score between these two factions. While some claim it's hard to know because both sides are commonly claiming bodies that aren't theirs, the roots of this conflict can allegedly be traced all the way back to the early 1990s, when gangsters from Los Angeles first touched down in St. Louis, with an Inglewood family Gangsta Blood member, OG Scoop, being allegedly the one to transport the Bloods to the Peabody projects, while the LA gang culture was also spreading to the neighboring projects, including the former Darst and Webb buildings and the neighboring LaSalle Park apartments, which were also known as the New Houses, as they were built later than the projects in the Peabody-Darst-Webb neighborhood. During this time, these projects were transformed into Blood and Crip strongholds linked to gangs like the Inglewood and Bishop Bloods, as well as the East Coast neighborhood and Long Beach Crips, turning the area into a gang war zone that is fueled by a feud that still burns today even after 2 decades. While it's not entirely clear how the war between the Jecks and the Murders started, first-hand accounts from locals confirms that it goes all the way back to the 90s.
And Tiger brother, big brother Luh Wick, he got killed over in the New Houses. I don't know which one happened first, but I know that the New Houses tried to slide on the Peabodys, and Fetty ended up getting killed.
To put the multi-generational effects of this war into perspective, LeGreg, who was killed already in the 90s, was allegedly the older brother of Tiger, killed in 2017, as well as allegedly being the uncle of a later Jecks rapper called Born Thurl Leesky. Over the years, the sliding between these two hoods became what seemed like an endless cycle, until an OG finally stepped in to squash the beef.
You know, like, that was in the 90s, and then they was just going back and forth. The Peabodys and the Murders were just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And my uncle, you know, he got to the like, y'all ain't finna keep doing this. These little kids out here playing. So he made them get in the field. He took they, you know, told them no guns. He's the only one that had a gun, and he made them fight. And after that, everything was cool.
Around the same time, the Peabody projects became associated with none other than Demetrius Flannery, better known in the streets as Big Meech, the leader of the Black Mafia family drug empire. Meech and his brother had started their drug business in Detroit before building one of the largest drug trafficking empires in American history, taking over Atlanta and moving thousands of kilos of cocaine monthly across 11 cities, including St. Louis. In the Lou, Meech's main contact was a man named Dion Gatling, better known as Cuffy, who was a Peabody Projects native and used the locals to run his day-to-day operations, as explained in the Brighter Side of Blue podcast by a former officer from St. Louis who was in charge of investigating the Cuffy's Peabody operation.
One of the things we're trying to do here is kind of flush out how the BMF started and how St. Louis played such a pivotal role in it. And one of the things that I think is really interesting is what level were they at when you were dealing with them in the 90s? Was it organized? Was it not organized? Were they street guys? Were they already moving, 20, 30 bricks?
I think when it first started, when I was involved with them, they were the street guys. They were the little guys doing it. And then Cuffy kind of was like a businessman. Cuffy never was involved with touching the dope. He was never involved with what that I knew of.
Okay.
With as far as the gun part of it, that was always Kevin Gayton and his other guys. And I think Cuffy treated it as a business. And then towards the end of my involvement in the Peabodys with them is when Cuffy gets hooked up with the fish house guy, Jerry Brown. And I think that's when
it starts to go.
It started to grow. And then later on, when I was in intelligence, is when I found out that Cuffy was hooked into the BMF.
All of the money coming in made the peace between the Jecks and the Murders not only preferable, but extremely profitable. As well as into the 2000s, members from both sides even crossed lines and formed joint cliques, with many of the older members still apparently holding close friendships.
Our generation, like even to this day, our generation still, Like, you know, I be over the new houses every day. I be on the murders every day.
The younger generations too were seen pictured together as teenagers, but like often with gangs, the peace would only be temporary, and eventually the newer generation would bring the war back bloodier than ever. While on the music side, both hoods would also produce numerous rising stars who would represent their side of the rivalry in the St. Louis drill scene, including rappers from the murder side like C4 Murder, who began rapping after Rondo died in 2017.
I wasn't even out here all the way in it till like Rondo died. When Rondo died 2017, that's when I started really knowing who is, moving around and getting out the hood.
C4 would go on to release hits like Some Slight, Locked In, and Murderside Island that have all gathered over hundreds of thousands of views. There's also Pistol P Presto, Mally G, and Robbo Murder, while on the Jex side, there are rappers like Jizzle Bucks, PYG Wayne, Bornthol Leesky, PYG Ches, Big Reg Walla, and Lil B. Over the years, the drill scene would gain enough tension that even the late Chicago drill legend King Von would connect with members from the Jex during this time. But both sides would also suffer tragic losses that would fuel the ongoing gang conflicts, with Murderside losing members like Rondo, real name Anton Butts, who had been shot in August 2016 and would finally succumb to his injuries in March 2017, and LeJohn, real name John Frost, who was shot and killed in February 2017, while the Jex would lose Tiger in the incident that would arguably blow the war between these two factions back wide open. However, it was 2 years later that a new major explosion of violence came, and this time it was triggered by the music. In September 2019, PYG Wayne and Bornthol Leesky from the Jex will drop a track called Terrorist Attack, where they would take shots at a whole host of ops, including of course the murder side, as they would take shots dissing their dead members like Rondo. The track would turn out to be a hit, racking up almost 1 million views on YouTube, but at the same time, it would also put a huge target on their back, and just a few weeks later, police would respond to gunshots fired in the 1400 block of Hickory Lane in the heart of the Jex. Upon arrival, the rapper Bornthol Leesky, real name LeBaron Jackson, was found shot in the back of the head and pronounced dead at the scene. The loss of the talented drill rapper was a huge hit to the Jex, but even more painful was the way that he allegedly died, as Leesky was rumored to have been accidentally shot in the back of the head by one of his own gang during a shootout with the ops from Murderside. This would give Murderside all the ammunition they needed to mock the Jex, with the rapper Robbo Murder even posting a reenactment of Leesky's death on Instagram.
Hey man, I shoot the Mac 45.
However, it would allegedly take only 3 days for the Jex to have their revenge plot in motion, and on the 22nd of September 2019, in a neighborhood in North St. Louis, miles away from the Jex and Murderside territories, 2 men drove by a house before parking their car behind it and then approached the front porch where they would open fire at 2 people, killing 29-year-old Elliot Massey. However, as the GoFundMe page for Massey would later reveal, he was allegedly an innocent victim, killed in a shooting meant for someone else. Moreover, the murder was captured on surveillance video, and only days later, 18-year-old Sanchez Swink, better known as the rapper PYB Ches, was arrested and charged with the murder of Massey, later receiving a 22-year sentence after pleading guilty to the crime. But the violence wasn't finished. In 2021, another rapper from the Terrorist Attack song, PYG Wayne, would become the final direct casualty of the chaos that his own song had unleashed, as he would be found dead near a bullet-ridden vehicle, this becoming yet another murder to take place right in the middle of the Jex, which helps to explain how the Peabody Projects would in 2024 be labeled as the second most dangerous neighborhood in the entire country. The feds would later get involved in the investigation of Wayne's murder, and in 2024, the shooters were eventually identified and indicted, not just for murder, but murder for hire, with one of these suspects allegedly being a rapper known as Boo Driller or Boo Man, while the second suspect would allegedly be a man known as Peasy, a member of the legendary St. Louis drill crew AMR, or Ammunition Money Respect. While the murder side may not have been involved in the hit, at least not directly, in the end, the violence and chaos that the Terrorist Attack song had set in motion had claimed its final victim. But that hasn't unfortunately stopped the violence, and more recently, as mentioned earlier in the video, the Jex have become heavily affiliated with the 48 Shreve hood from Northside, a hood that has suffered tragic losses over the years, which is reflected in the many names that it has, such as PJ Gang, Justo World, and Botway. The Jex would also become close with the cliques affiliated with Shreve, like Back Pocket Gang, and together with these different factions would create an alliance called 1448, which has brought wild cards like the rapper Mo P, who identified as EBK or Everybody Killer, into the mix, further turning up the beef with Murderside. The intensity and organization of this alliance was captured in a menacing TJ Films hood vlog showing 1448 members patrolling their territory while openly displaying heavy artillery. They would also explain how the 14 Jex are Bloods, while 48 Shreve are rolling 60s, which makes 1448 a Blood and Crip alliance as well.
Like you that's the 60. That's
Unfortunately, it was only a matter of time before this alliance proved very dangerous. In May 2024, the murder side would begin to apply pressure on 48 Shreve, dropping a scathing diss track called Purge on Shreve, where they would diss their dead members like Curry B, PJ, and Justo. In the summer of 2024, the rapper C4 Murder from the murder side would allegedly slide through the Peabody projects with his girlfriend shooting at 1448 members before running off and leaving his girlfriend behind, later taking to Instagram to brag about his mission.
I just burnt downtown enough, gang on John. C4 John Wick is my son, solo dolo. I faking 1448K on my son.
Meanwhile, Mo P would respond back and claim that C4 had dropped his phone on the drill before telling him to shoot back next time. What Mo P didn't mention was that this incident was allegedly a get back to C4 having his Tesla shot up by 1448 members about a month before. Interestingly, on July the 6th, the same date as the alleged shootout, St. Louis police would indeed respond to multiple calls about suspects shooting in the Peabody neighborhood, and after arriving at the scene, they would end up chasing and detaining 7 suspects on foot before confiscating several firearms. A day later, C4 would post a video allegedly showing a 1448 member, Ray Waller, in what looked like hospital, as someone can be heard telling him to stay out of the streets.
Hey, stay out the streets, bro.
On me.
Show you.
Stay out the streets is crazy. He must just got popped up or something.
Meanwhile, the online detectives on the St. Louis Drill subreddit would create theories that Ray had been a target of friendly fire, just like the incident that allegedly killed the rapper Leesky. As mentioned in the earlier section about Mo P, the back and forth between 1448 and Murderside would continue afterwards, with both sides being spotted in each other's hoods, armed to the teeth, and a video would even be posted online of another alleged shootout aftermath, which shows supposed 1448 members running away from the scene. In the past few years, there would also be a surprising beef between the Murders and the Sixx, who used to be very close, with particularly the Murderside rapper Robbo Murder dropping numerous songs with guys like KB6, Hothead Capone, and Nudie Sixx. But this alliance would unfortunately come to an end, leading to numerous back and forths on social media where these former friends would exchange disses towards each other.
What makes you think my views come from y'all? What the, if anything, we turned y'all up.
Y'all never turned us up, gang.
I can't even say
with each other hard, bro.
I can't even say I turned you up because, bro, y'all was
just knew we with each other, bro. That's it. That's all. That's all we gotta leave it. Like, yeah, the Murderside and the Sixx locked in. You know, that's all they knew, gang. And
you making it sound. You making it all. Look,
nobody
make it look. Look on the bud, cuz you on this in the scene like, y'all turned us up.
I never said we turned y'all up, cuz. I'm telling you, gang. Listen to me. That's what I said. You go make it.
My engine too loud. My bad. What you say?
You go make it up. Like I'm saying, I told you. Everybody just knew we each other good. I said we dropped some hard together, gang. That's all I said, bro. You make it up and you go tell people it's fake. That's why it's going on right now.
Let's get this shit popping, okay? Let's get it rocking.
All these you got on live the same peace treating in my inbox on Richard.
Oh, got Bonu on KB.
First off, you ain't pay for John, you never paid for me no clothes, no nothing. You don't got a cap on live about you trolling.
C4, John, piss me the because you a fan. C4, you be tripping, man. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. All that fake, bro, get your song. You know what's up for real. You a core nigga. Oh, real. Now you know I wouldn't let nobody dish y'all, but y'all be doing. You ain't never captured. You ain't never touched no book. You can't drive water to save your life. So what you doing on real? Okay, I'm out here right now on real. We can, man. He got LeBron high. I ain't gonna lie.
No, Nudie talking high. Nudie ain't got no hood. Nudie ain't got no hood. Nudie ain't got no hood. Right now. He block hopping, couldn't he? Where the they all together with y'all.
Thankfully, this beef hasn't turned deadly so far, and at least for now, it seems that the violence in St. Louis overall may be winding down considerably, with crime in the city being down double digits during the first half of 2025.
St. Louis City crime data indicates a decline in crime. Yeah, they've been looking at that data. They said this happened in the first 3 months of this year. The city reports the lowest number of homicides since 2005. Homicides are down 45%, robberies down 20%, burglaries 33%, and auto thefts down 39% year to date.
But while things may be looking better at the moment, history shows that they could go left at any moment, which is why security cameras were installed around 11th Street, with C4 Murder claiming in his interview with TJ Films that it's wartime on the block.
What about the cameras? They had them cameras up over there. They just did this shit when it was just what?
One can only hope that Mo P, C4, and all the other rappers mentioned in this video who are still alive will end up having long and successful careers, but in all seriousness, for that to become reality, likely the most important decision that they could take is to leave that city that made them. Because it's dangerous for a rapper to stay in a city they came from, and perhaps nowhere is that more true than in St. Louis. In South St. Louis, on Itasca Street, there's a hood known as 34 I Block. Not very well known in the grand scheme of things when it comes to the city's chaotic gang wars, yet this hood has seemingly produced some of the most out-of-control examples in the city's new generation of gangsters and drill rappers. This hood, like others I've talked about, has historically repped the Rollin' 60s neighborhood Crips, which the new generation seemingly carry the torch for. However, the new generation of gangsters from this hood share very little with the OGs, who were originally under cohesive leadership, as in this day and age, there's a confusing number of different cliques with at least some connection to this hood. One of these is known as VetoGang, which was actually founded in the honor of their former member Veto, real name Victor Williams, who I've mentioned before, with him dying under mysterious circumstances during a robbery murder of a rideshare driver all the way back in 2020, with some rumors even connecting the infamous shooter from 48 Shreve, Curry B, to this incident. However, VetoGang is at least partly also known by another name, as Veto himself was seemingly a member of a clique known as the Big Grimeyy Gang, aka BGG, a clique that has an impressive roster of aspiring rappers, including guys like Big Grimeyy Shawno, Big Grimeyy Slim, and Big Grimeyy Murder. Unfortunately, at least 2 of these rappers have since been locked up, with Shawno's social media activity seemingly coming from behind bars over the past few years, while Murder's music aspirations would take a backseat in April 2023 when he was arrested for allegedly trafficking fentanyl.
A Cape Girardeau man faces drug trafficking and possession charges after authorities say they found fentanyl powder and pills along with cocaine at his apartment. Officers arrested 18-year-old Jimmy Hudson III after conducting that search around 8 this morning. According to court records, officers also found plastic bags, cell phones, cash, and ammunition. The powdered fentanyl in this case, 5.9 grams, is considered a potentially deadly form of the synthetic opioid. Hudson's being held on a $30,000 cash bond.
There's also a clique closely affiliated with BGG known as FHE, which also includes several rappers like FHE Luh J, FHE Rod, and FHEJ. These youngsters have grown up in an environment where losing people since a young age has become the norm, with one of them explaining to TJ Films how they've lost friends since just the 2nd grade.
You done lost real partners in this shit. Man, real homeboys in this shit, man. Okay. 2nd grade. I'm talking about 2nd grade. So like, hold on, stop right there. Like in 2nd grade, like how they like change your way of like looking at life, like losing a partner, like
cause that straight me up, cause I ain't gonna fake, cause like.
Do it make you move different? Like
I did everything with, cause.
Yeah, cause especially
cause
you know they was standing on business gang, like and especially that it gets done gang. It wasn't
let me stand on business. You know?
Yeah. However, arguably the most reckless young generation of gangsters from this block are another affiliated clique who call themselves the LocHeadGang, or LHG, and particularly dangerous was their rapper Ty 4, who loved to tote the most outrageous guns in his music videos, like one particularly crazy looking ARP with a blue barrel and dual drum magazine that he carried religiously in almost every video. According to some Reddit sources, these youngsters have made the I Block one of the most hated hoods in the entire city, and they've also managed to make an impressive list of enemies along the way, including many of the cliques and hoods already mentioned in this video, with some Reddit commenters explaining that this gang is hated by pretty much the entire south side of St. Louis. However, these youngsters are also connected to the St. Louis County, as they would explain to TJ Films.
Everybody from the south side?
Nah, I'm a county.
No, tell them about the county. Tell them about the county.
My birth. Only reason I was in the county because my TT lived in the city and I really lived with her. But for me to go to school, my granny lived in the county, so I'm down the street from all these.
They're allegedly active particularly in the area next to the St. Louis Lambert International Airport, which is an area with a long history of gang activity. That's also the area where they seemingly have one of their loudest beefs with a clique known as BSG or 8400, who are also known for several up-and-coming rappers too, including guys like BSG La M and 84 Eloo B. This clique allegedly operates off of Airport Road in the suburb of Berkeley, aka Burketown, which is one of the first areas in the metro St. Louis area where the Bloods from California actually set up shop in the late 80s when they they arrived there to sell dope. The animosity between BSG and the alliance of gangs made up of Veto Gang, BGG, LHG, and FHE runs so deep that the beef would become a central theme in the music of rappers from each side, with LocHeadGang calling their ops out on the 2023 track LHG Stuff, rapping F for BSG and declaring themselves 8400K. Ty4 would also drop solo songs around this time under the name LocHeadGang Ty4, where he would once again seemingly aim his disses towards his BSG rivals, rapping how he's gonna pull up and give BSG Luh 60 shots, as well as rapping how 84 Eloo B saw Ty and his friend and started hopping fences to get away from them. But there were also seemingly subliminal disses going on too, because the entire beat of the song was actually taken from an old song belonging to BSG Luh titled Demonstration. And unfortunately, while Ty4 and his partners were at war with the entire south side of St. Louis, it would be the beef that they were the loudest about that would ultimately end up being his downfall. On September the 4th, 2023, at around 10:20 p.m, police in the city of Ferguson, right next to Berkeley, responded to a call about a shooting near the intersection of South Florissant and Woodstock roads. When they arrived at the scene, they found 19-year-old Ty4, real name Tyon Marquise Hamilton, suffering from gunshot wounds. He was taken to hospital, but later pronounced dead. The shooting had apparently taken place at the BP gas station located at the intersection, as Ty's op would soon post a story on Instagram showing a video of the police going through Ty's car there, together with a message saying how Ty had been doing all of that trolling, but now he was dead. This video would even show an ARP with a blue barrel resting on the top of Ty's car, this gun seemingly being the same one that he had been toting in all of his music videos, something that many Redditors immediately noticed. Someone in the Reddit comments would describe how they had seen a security camera footage of the events, saying how Ty's op had caught him at the gas station and let off around 5 to 6 shots towards his head and neck. Sometime later, the security footage would make its way online, showing a wild scene where a man was standing between Ty's car and the gas station store, seemingly talking to Ty who was inside the car, when the man suddenly pulled a gun and unloaded numerous shots inside the car. Members of the LocHeadGang would send numerous tributes to Ty on social media, as well as wearing custom clothing paying tribute to him. Meanwhile, the following month after Ty's death, BSG rappers would come out with the song Fully Party, where they would throw shots at him, like the rapper BuckZ 2, rapping how he heard that Ty got killed at the gas station and didn't even try and shoot back, going on to say that he was smoking him. Unfortunately, the bad karma in the streets of St. Louis doesn't take long to come back around again, and in this case, the next tragedy would strike in February of 2024, when on the 18th, Luh and Rello would drop their most popular song so far, titled Bop 'Em, which now has a music video with over 350,000 views. In the song, they would diss someone for doing nothing after their friend was killed, as well as claiming that they were on every street and bragging about crashing on people from 85, this being a reference to the conflict that BSG has with another group from their area known as 8500 or Face Shot Gang, who Luh had formerly dissed with a dedicated diss song titled 85K. Luh and Rello would also diss their ops, telling them to check the stats and claiming to be up 5 bodies in the gang war, as well as dissing someone who dissed them and got shot in the head 2 days later. The track was also a direct reference to Curry B, aka Curry Bop, the rapper Mope's best friend, who had seemingly garnered enemies from both sides of the BSG and LocHead beef, with Luh rapping how he's heard 1,000 diss songs, but nobody has been killed as Get Back for Curry. Luh was doing a whole lot of dissing towards his ops, but perhaps he should have been paying closer attention to those close to him, because only a few weeks after dropping that song, on the 29th of February, Ferguson police would respond to reports of shots fired in the 300 block of South Harvey Avenue at around 8:30 p.m, and arriving at the scene, they would find a victim in the driver's seat of a car suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. The victim would turn out to be BSG Luh, but this time a suspect would also be swiftly arrested, and this suspect would turn out to be none other than Luh's close friend and fellow BSG rapper 84 Eloo B, real name Daryl Taylor, who would be charged with not just killing Luh but also robbing him. And while Luh's family was mourning the loss of their gifted son, who had just begun to get some motion with his music, his ops would be ecstatic, posting images where they claimed to be smoking on him, and one person who was particularly happy was Mope, who would seemingly throw subliminal disses by subtly changing his profile picture on his Finsta account to a picture of Luh. Meanwhile, LocHeadGang has continued dropping music with their affiliates, with one of the members known on Instagram as Switchy LHG, seemingly taking the entire clique on his back by deciding to make his stage name in music simply LocHeadGang, recently dropping songs like Slime Time with FHE Luh, a video that sees members toting a gun arsenal that looks more at home in Call of Duty Warzone than the streets of St. Louis, and even using the actual sound of a switch firing as a sound effect on the song. On April the 20th, 2025, LocHeadGang would also film a vlog with the popular St. Louis cameraman TJ Films, where TJ called them the hottest YNs in the city.
Hey, that's the YN smacking at your whip.
Look, Cal, I want everybody to introduce, because all y'all rapping, so I need everybody to tell them who y'all is.
The vlog would introduce the audience to several aspiring rappers from the squad, including Mr. LocHeadGang himself, as well as rappers Whippy Fours, FHE Roud, FHE Luh, and FHEJ. The vlog wasn't filmed in the South Side, but rather what appeared to be a random neighborhood in the city of Northwoods in St. Louis County, not far from the areas where both Ty4 and Luh would end up losing their lives. The location, perhaps perhaps being chosen to poke at their ops, as during the vlog, they can even be seen FaceTiming one of their ops, showing them the exact location where they're filming the vlog in real time and daring them to pull up.
Call V, he gonna be mad. Look, hold on, let me see if I can get my favorite boy on the phone.
So y'all can just talk to y'all ops just like that.
Watch how mad he is. Watch how mad he get. He just mad. I don't know why.
We just called it the day like that. We got a video shoot game, pull it down.
It's Easter, so he should be mad on Easter game.
Yeah, watch how mad he
look. Hold on. Bro, just
what's up, gang? What you on, gang?
Where y'all at? He happy as hell.
Scrambling.
Yeah. Hey, show $100 real quick for TJ. He say you want to see 100.
Let me see your Glock. Let me see that.
He say you want to see $100 real quick.
Let me see your Glock, gang. Let me see your Glock.
You want me to show you?
Gang, ain't nobody ducking it.
Let me flip the camera, gang. He don't even got traffic, gang. It ain't even worth it. Cuz he dropping lows to other. It's like him drop lows to other.
Hold on, TJ.
Bro,
look. This the goofies, right? Look. This the goofies, right? Look. Say, Kenwood Drive. Melba. Stop. Look, he hang up. That's what we do to goofies. He be bluffing. Call his bluffing.
Just like that, gang.
Even after the call, they would continue to hang around that exact same street sign that they had just flashed to their ops, with TJ jokingly asking if they were nervous, for the group to laugh it off, bragging that they were strapped and know how to shoot.
So y'all can maneuver like that, no cap. And y'all ain't nervous, y'all good, y'all.
I ain't gonna lie, gang. We got that to knock down the tower, gang. And every right here, gang, really shoot, gang. Like it's really.
But do y'all got aim though?
Tap this.
He said he got
drop on my
Look, that's all I got to say.
However, the mood would get noticeably tense whenever a car approached the scene, as everyone could be seen clutching their guns and checking to see if the car's friendly.
Yeah, for real though.
And down there was like, man, that's
yeah, they yelled it.
Nobody hopped out that.
They would even make fun of the absurdity of this moment, joking how they might end up blowing somebody's granny down by accident, which almost sounds funny until you remember that stuff like that really does happen when you're living this lifestyle.
This is where they patrol.
He said that's somebody granny. They finna blow a granny. They finna blow a granny down.
This video illustrated just how tense life is in the streets of St. Louis as a young gang member, with moments where they were filming a music video even being interrupted by abstract danger, as all of these masked young'uns run in different directions and secure the perimeter when they think the ops are nearby.
Don't run, come this way. I'm gonna jump the gate and just jump off. Hold on, put that drink up here. Hey, what a book? Hit that gate.
Hell yeah, you gotta get out of
Yo, fake it, TJ. Let us hop in your whip. They are just shook.
They would even inexplicably complain that the local residents were on some police stuff just because they had looked out their windows at them when they were out in the streets toting guns and dropping the low, with these dangerous YNs saying that they were just outside chilling.
Police ass neighbor just walked out again on some police. Like that's all we out here chilling, gang.
Nah, for real.
Acting like we out here burning up. We chilling, gang.
For real.
At one point, FHEJ would explain that after traveling to Miami, he actually realized that he needed a vacation from the gang war to relieve the tension, with him actually explaining how he went to the beach for the first time in his life and realized that people really do need to relieve their minds, because if they don't relieve that pressure, they'll end up crashing out in the streets.
I mean, hibachi. I'm going on a roller coaster, riding the scooters in the sand. Yeah, I went to the beach for the first time in my life. I took my socks off and started running this.
No cap.
Now, this really spoke to me, as it's hard to imagine never going to the beach in your entire life. And it just makes you think how much better these gang conflicts could be if only some of these young men had better opportunities and experiences that broadened their horizons. This vlog also showed the members paying tribute to fallen members and displaying Typhor's picture. While FHEJ would also show what appeared to be a picture of a dead enemy in their coffin while smoking towards the camera. Throughout the vlog, the members would display visible switches on their guns, illegal modifications that turn semi-automatic weapons into fully automatic killing machines, something that appears to be a norm even in a city like St. Louis, where the gun laws are already extremely relaxed. During the vlog, LocHeadGang would actually film the music video for the song Make a Wish. The video opened with the clip of them smoking on a deceased op and showing a picture of an op in a coffin on a phone, that same footage that Jay had displayed during the vlog. And the lyrics of the song would be back-to-back disses towards fallen enemies and recounting violent incidents. Referencing drills, for example, rapping about apparently catching someone slipping who got killed by a gate. They would claim to smoke someone called Baby J and talked about people getting killed trying to meet girls. They would describe someone getting shot and trying to crawl away, and as the song continued with a roll call of their deceased enemies, dissing Lil D, Treyon, Lil M, Moody, and Joneski, the story of LocHeadGang really drives home just how senseless and out of control some of these youngsters on the streets of St. Louis really can be. But this is the mentality that spread all over the United States and the world at large. Drill music has become a global phenomenon, and nowadays every single hood in the entire world has a group of hustlers and killers, some of whom who rap and make music, and that music has become the battle cries of a real-life, ongoing, deadly gang war. It's a double-edged sword when arguably the music represents one of the only tangible ways that some of these young men might be able to find a way out of the streets and into a legitimate career, but on the other hand, the music itself has arguably intensified the violence and amplified the tit-for-tat back and forths that had already been going on in the streets for decades. Learning more about St. Louis, it really made me realize just how little that life is truly valued in the modern day streets. But at the same time, this story has also made me have a lot of hope for all of these promising young men who have come out of some of these horrible situations and actually begun building careers for themselves as artists, giving them something positive to do outside of the streets. I know a lot of the music coming out of these cities, drill scenes, is extremely negative, but I think it's important to focus on the potential positive outcomes that can come from having a hit drill song. So I truly pray that all of the rappers that I've mentioned in this video who are still alive and still have their freedom will survive the streets of St. Louis and go on to have long and successful careers. But unfortunately, for that to become reality, some of those people are going to have to leave the streets behind, and perhaps even the city of St. Louis. It's been tragic seeing artists like FBG Duck and Foolio lose their lives as a result of staying so close to the real-life gang wars that they rap about. St. Louis is truly one of the most dangerous and deadly cities in the entire of the United States, but it seems like over the years that pressure has truly made some diamonds. I'm praying for this generation of St. Louis rappers to make something positive out of this opportunity, and I hope that this video shines a spotlight on not just the insane violence going on in this remarkably volatile city, but also the insane level of talent coming out of it that hopefully inspires yet another generation to do even better. I hope you found that video interesting. I enjoyed researching it, and until the next one, peace out and rest in peace to all of those who lost their lives.